You're watching Veterans Week coverage on ESPN, brought to you by USAA.
Welcome to ESPN College Football Primetime, presented by Ram Trucks on this great week where we celebrate our brave men and women serving our country in the military, both here and around the world. Tonight at Doyd Perry Stadium in Bowling Green, Ohio, week 2 of Mid-American Conference play. The Kent State Golden Flashes in town to take on the Bowling Green Falcons. And with that, we welcome you into our broadcast booth. Mike Cousins, along with Cole Kubelik. Glad that you've joined us tonight as well. We start with Bowling Green that had a rough week 1 at Toledo. They lost by 35 points, so it's only uphill from here for the Falcons.
Well, you'd hope so. You go back to that game last week, and it was just mistakes, self-inflicted wounds, Mike, early in that football game. And it started on special teams. How about first possession of the game? You snap one outside of the batter's box. I do not recommend the line drive punt here, especially one that nets you minus 11 yards with the return. That would set up a Toledo score. Open tight end over the middle of the field, pass deflected. That goes for an interception and a Toledo score. Then you're going to get an explosive play through the air, and what do you know? Fumble ends up being Toledo football. Another interception late. This game was 21-0 at the end of the first quarter. You had a couple of turnovers. You didn't look great. Not able to get into a rhythm for Matt McDonald last week. He had to play a different style of football game than what he wants to play for 4 quarters each and every night.
That was just his first college start. He came from Boston College, recruited by Scott Loeffler, now the head coach here. So start number 2 tonight. For Kent State, they were winners. Their 5th straight overall dating back to last season by 4 over Eastern Michigan. A pretty good start.
You have to like the way Sean Lewis is building this football team. Going to be a little bit more physical than what we're used to with a lot of MAC teams, but they also have their quarterback in Dustin Crum that they're going to try to build this offense, build this football team around. And he was exceptional last week, pushing the ball down the field. Play action opens that up. Had a lot of success to this young man right here, Isaiah McCoy. Big play threat down the field and just sneaky athletic enough to hurt you with his legs. Mike, you're not going to build the run game around what he's able to do with his legs, but he can escape, he can create, and he gives you just enough to where that defense has to respect it.
The coaching staff compared him to a very successful NFL veteran. We'll tell you who that is in just a little bit. Looking forward to kickoff, Cole. How do you think this game plays out?
Well, I told you that Kent State was able to run the football last week. I was impressed with their offensive line, and they went against a mammoth Eastern Michigan defensive line a week ago. This D-line for Bowling Green is nowhere near as big, nowhere near as experienced. Brian Van Gorder has to find a way for that group to stand up to the rushing attack, or it could be another long night for Bowling Green.
See what the veteran defensive coordinator can scheme up tonight for the Falcons. Some injuries to catch you up on as well as we get things rolling here tonight. We're just moments away here in Bowling Green, Ohio. There's nothing better. November, some midweek football. It's week 2 of action coming up next.
ESPN College Football is presented by Ram, built to serve.
Some great sights of those in the United States military serving abroad and supporting their Mid-American Conference teams. The start of our week-long initiative here at ESPN as we get you set for kickoff between Kent State and Bowling Green. I'm Mike Cousins along with Cole Kubelik, and as a resident of the Buckeye State, Cole, I'm glad to have you here for what is going to be the last nice day until May.
I was literally sweating taking the tram over to get my rental car today and then drive over in the parking lot. I was pouring sweat. I'm thinking, I'm in Michigan on my way to Ohio in the middle of November, and I'm sweating.
You can't ask for much better. There may be some sprinkles in the forecast later on tonight, but hey, that's football weather, as we say. Bowling Green wins the coin toss. They defer, so Kent State is going to start with the ball tonight as it gets teed up by Mason Lawler with Isaiah McCoy and Jay-Sean Polk. Back at the 5-yard line for the Golden Flashes at their own 5. The sun has set, the lights are on, and week 2 of action, off we go. A long kick, they let it go. It's on the end line and out of bounds, so they'll take it out to the 25-yard line where Kent State gets to go on offense for the first time. I love this direct quote from Andrew Souter, their third-year offensive coordinator. He says, "We throw it deep a lot, and they can do that because Dustin Crum is a great threat, the senior from Grafton, Ohio."
Well, he has a great command of this offense, Mike. In the run game, obviously another thing that helps get them going. They're going to go with some big packages, a little bit different than what you see from some other MAC teams, H-backs, tight ends. They have a couple big running backs that they'll bring in as well.
Crum to throw on first down, pressured from the backside, and his throw to the 40-yard line is incomplete. There is a flag down near the line of scrimmage after that first snap of the night. So we'll hear from our referee, Jeremy Valentine, making the trip down from Michigan.
Offense number 75, 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
Penalty is on Adam Gregory, and it's a shakeup on the offensive line tonight as well. One of the injuries we told you about, a player who's unavailable, is left tackle Daniel Johnson. So that shifted a few players around. The only consistency tonight is right guard Nathan Monin stays in his starting spot. Crum with the quick release on the slant. It's bobbled and caught, and a chance for a huge play here for Kent State after the penalty. All the way down to about the 30-yard line on the connection to Dante Cephas, who nearly lost it and breaks away for a big one.
Mike, this back-to-back games for Dante Cephas. Caught a screen on the left hash last week, almost took it to distance and was tracked down. Obviously a big play threat here for the Flashes.
50-yard pickup. Kent State is quickly back to the line, and a handoff for the first time tonight goes to Marquez Cooper, the freshman.
We're going to keep an eye on the left side of this offensive line today, and it's not just because Adam Gregory at left guard is the only starter returning in his normal spot, but the left side of this defense last week for Bowling Green was a bit of a weakness inside the A and B gaps.
And the Falcons are down some personnel on the defensive line as well. A galloping run nets a first down. They go back to Cooper. Carl Brooks, their top defensive end, is out tonight with a foot injury.
They're going to go tempo here. I'm actually surprised it took them a couple plays to get to the rushing attack.
Coming across the formation with some patience waiting for that play to develop. And it's inside the 15-yard line with Cooper, who had 16 carries for 58 yards last week.
It's a big advantage for Kent State here inside the red zone. Big backs, H-backs, tight ends, and an offensive line that outweighs this defensive line.
Crum gives it up. And a bounce to the outside goes nowhere as Colby Coleman, the senior from Hoover, Alabama, makes the tackle. So third down on what has been a frenetic opening drive, including the 50-yard pass to Dante Cephas. And although we haven't seen it yet, not out of necessity, Crum, the quarterback, is a threat to run if needed. With some window dressing, they get the handoff to Cooper. And he is short of the first down, so it's 4th and about 2 for Kent State.
A lot of gap scheme runs here, early pin and pulls, blocking back, pulling offensive linemen around. And one of the reasons you're able to be successful with that is patience from your backs. Wait on those blocks to open up, make the cuts late.
Crum takes it on 4th down, only looks to the corner, he heaves that way, it's caught, and it's a touchdown, Kent State. Isaiah McCoy brings it in. There is a flag.
Offside, defense. That penalty is declined. Result, touchdown.
McCoy had a couple of these last week and opportunities at a few more. One or two that were maybe overthrown, but this is a big body receiver with a gigantic catch radius. And Crum does a nice job. Just put it up there where you know Isaiah McCoy just has the height, jump, reach advantage. Excellent grab. McCoy's a very, very good weapon for this Kent State offense.
And they get another weapon back as well. Matthew Trickett was unavailable last week, but the junior kicker from Cleveland returns, and his first extra point try of the season is good to make it 7-0 on a speedy and expedient opening drive. Isaiah McCoy on a 4th and 2 brings it in for the touchdown. BG on offense next.
Timeout.
You got to catch your breath after this opening drive from Kent State. 75 yards in less than 2.5 minutes for a touchdown.
How about the concentration, the hands there from Dante Cephas? I mentioned he had a very similar play a week ago. He can take the short pass, high percentage throw, and create an explosive play. And I tell you, this young man, Isaiah McCoy, he can create anywhere on the field, Mike. I've seen him run by DBs, seen him go up in traffic like that and make plays. Just an excellent receiver, excellent weapon for the Golden Flashes on the outside.
Sean Lewis, his head coach, said, we told you earlier, comparison to an NFL player, it's Ryan Fitzpatrick, just because of the minimal mistakes that he makes. Says the individual plays might not impress you, but the body of work is sure to. On the return, here comes Bryson Denley out across the 30-yard line. He's got breakaway speed out across the 50, and it's a foot race to the end zone. Bowling Green looking for its first touchdown of the season, and they're going to start this drive inside the 15 of Kent State.
That's how you bounce back from the big early special teams mistake a week ago. You had a bad snap on the initial punt after the first series, and what do you come out and do? Special teams going to get you in great scoring position early in this game. Excellent cutback there around the 30. Not quite enough speed to get it into the end zone, but boy, that changes momentum, that changes your attitude. That's going to change play calling here early in this game for Bowling Green.
Scott Loeffler's offense, led by Matt McDonald, making his first college start last week, came up with only 3 points in a 38-3 loss at Toledo. They were stuffed inside the 5-yard line. See if they can improve upon last week's effort here. There's a flag down, likely a hold, as the first handoff of the day goes to Trayvon Raymore. And we'll likely see more of him this week than we did last week with an injury at that position.
Personal foul, chop block. Offense number 80 and number 63. 15-yard penalty, first down.
Their top tight end, Quinton Morris, and the left guard, Sam Neverov, the guilty duo on that penalty.
Well, what happens is Quinton Morris is running a play that we call split zone. So you'll run zone to the right, so the entire offensive line takes that step to the right, and then he's going to come back across the line of scrimmage to the left. Now, he's usually going to go low where he can, and the left guard gets actually blocked back into him, which sort of created what appeared to be a chop block. I don't think it was intentional.
So instead of 1st and 10, it's 1st and 25. They hand it off to Jalen Embry, and he regains a good chunk all the way down to the 15-yard line.
One thing that you'll notice in this Bowling Green offense, 82, Presley Moats out on the outside, tight end with an excellent block on the perimeter. They have a couple tight ends here that are not afraid to mix it up. They will trade paint, they will get movement, they are physical at the point of attack.
Embry comes in motion, play action for McDonald on the rollout. He keeps it. And with 3rd down coming up, they're back to about the original line of scrimmage.
So you're going to show the same play that you showed on the initial play of the game, Mike, split zone, except the tight end, instead of going and blocking at the end of the line of scrimmage, he's just going to leak out, and with that rollout, hopefully be open. Really good coverage there from Kent State, not allowing him to steal the flat.
There's a lot of wizardry in the pre-play action to be deciphered for the Kent State defense. Can Bowling Green execute? McDonald rolls, throws into the end zone, incomplete. The tight end Morris out of bounds.
I'm going to tell you what I like about this, though, from Matt McDonald. When you have a quarterback coach that is as detail-oriented as Scott Loeffler, a lot of times that gets lost when you're on the move. What I liked about McDonald rolling out here is he took the time to reset, go back to his mechanics, and deliver a strike. Receiver just a little bit too deep in the end zone.
It's Nate Needham on for the field goal try here from 29 yards to get Bowling Green on the board. A little bit of a breeze going here tonight, and the kick is good to make it 7-3. Well, the start last week for Bowling Green involved mistakes. Those were turnovers. This week, a big penalty on 1st down, but they still net 3. You may not be old enough to run for president of the United States, but you could be an FBS head coach. 3rd youngest in the country, Will Healy at Charlotte. Boy, is he energetic, as you can see right there, just frozen in midair. Number 2, Jake Spavital, who's worked under some of the best offensive minds in college football. Dana Holgerson, Sonny Dykes among them. And here at Kent State, in year number 3, Sean Lewis is just 34 years old. He went 2-10 in his first year, and last year at 7-6 and a victory in the Frisco Bowl bought Kent State their 4th winning season in the last 40 years.
Yeah, but only one of them lived with Mike Leach and Dana Holgerson and slept on their couch in their apartment. So,
and that's Jake Spavital.
I have to say Spavital. Spavital's in the lead right now. Will Healy, super talented, and being able to visit with Sean Lewis, you have to be excited about what he's building here.
What I was most impressed by is we spoke to him on Sunday midday. That's usually, if you're an iPhone user, you get your screen time report. Mine was regrettably about 5 hours and 58 minutes. He said his was only about 3 hours.
Oh.
But the asterisk on that is he had a short week and a lot of it was watching film. So he had screen time, just not on a cellular device.
I think I would have passed both of you combined, unfortunately. 4-hour radio show every day, trying to keep up with social media, usually keeps the phone on. At least that's going to be my excuse. But since I've watched the show on Netflix about some of the social media, I've been trying to put it down, but I just, for some reason, I keep gravitating back to it.
You could say it's a dilemma, right?
Bad habits, man.
He's Cole Kubelik, Mike Cousins with you here in Bowling Green, Ohio. Kent State on its first drive, less than 2.5 minutes. They covered 75 yards, and if you blinked, you really missed it because they went downfield in a hurry, and there's the first negative play of the day for Kent State.
Nice play from Blaine Spires coming from the backside. That's one thing with gap scheme runs. You have a chance to get north and south and attack.
And they quickly throw it. Jay-Sean Polk makes the catch. He bursts through the first wave, through the second. There's a flag down. It's a foot race down the sideline that he wins with ease. A 5-yard cushion to take it to the end zone. The remainder of his teammates seemed to reach the pessimistic stage before he did, seeing the flag when he did a 180.
You know, I know a lot of times that sort of the track guys on your teams aren't what PFT would refer to as football guys, so to speak, and do everything on the field. But one thing about the track guy.
Holding. Offense number 23. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. Remains second down.
Yeah, it's a fellow wideout, Isaiah McCoy, got flagged.
You'll see him top right of your screen right here. Let's see how this one looks. Let the defender disengage. Plays past you. He's not going to go. He's not going to catch Polk right there. Let that hand go. Let him go. And a lot of times when you get nailed for holding, it's not releasing the defender. You have to allow them to disengage and go make the play. But back to the track guys, Mike. One thing I'm going to do is not leave the track guy uncovered. I'm not going to leave him sitting there by himself.
It's a wise choice. That count got the defensive line to jump. And we'll see who the offending party is.
Offside. Defense number 54. Contact with a player in the neutral zone. 5-yard penalty. Second down.
That's the freshman Anthony Hawkins from Mansfield, Ohio.
He's going to roll in on that left side of the Kent State offensive line, an area that was a bit problematic for this defense a week ago.
So it makes it 2nd and 5 for Kent State. The blitz is on. They don't get there as Crum lets it go. Multiple flags hit the turf in the area of the intended target. So an incomplete pass. We'll see how this plays out. But Cole, if you look back to last week's game against Toledo, whenever Bowling Green did try and send a blitz, it didn't always work.
Interference. Defense number 23. The ball be placed at the spot of the foul. Automatic first down.
Top right of your screen. You're right, Mike. If you're going to send pressure, you have to get home. You have to affect the throw.
Correction. That foul was on defense number 2. Number 2 of the defense.
You're still in the quarterback's face. And if there's one thing that I'm sure Bowling Green has an issue with there, it's where that ball landed. Maybe deemed it as uncatchable. Nonetheless, you get the penalty.
Crum on the slant. This got them 50 yards on the first drive, and a healthy pickup here to Isaac Vance. And now we've got an injured defender back at the 35-yard line.
Timeout for an injured defender.
And an already beleaguered defense for the Falcons. Davion Daniels, a starting safety, was out last week and is out again. And then Carl Brooks, as we mentioned earlier, the defensive end, is out with an injured foot, as Vance, the receiver who got upended after making that catch, walks out the hit to his left leg.
Well, and Carl Brooks is a young man that they moved to what Brian Van Gorder calls their big defensive end. So he's a guy who can really hurt you off the edge. He's got good moves on the edge, a good pass rusher outside, but they needed a little more bulk, so they moved him across. And he not being able to go today, absolutely their best defensive lineman that they have. Somebody, if you talk to other coaches in this league, they'll always tell you, you got to find 44 on that Bowling Green defense. The depth is already thin. There are 3 freshmen that have rolled in on this defensive line. Right there, you just see kind of that leg whip comes around a little bit late. That doesn't look great, be perfectly honest with you. But a lot of times as an offensive lineman, you're not really thinking about that. You get the quads and the calves just kind of flipping up. Listen, it's hard to control 315 pounds sometimes. It rolls on you and it flails around a little bit.
But so the athletic training staff gets Hawkins, the freshman, back to his feet.
Don't like to see that. The young man had given them some really good reps as a freshman. And you've mentioned the depth, Mike, was going to have to play a bigger role for this defense moving forward. And now you're just that much more thin tonight against a team that we know wants to run the football and had success running the football last week.
And it's a Bowling Green defense that over the last 4 years has allowed at least 38 points a game in each season. 4 straight losing campaigns, 0-1 after they started off a 35-point loser last week at the hands of Toledo. This is a 2nd and 1 for Kent State. Crum on the run. Flag is down as he scrambles and does get the first down as he's tackled along the sideline by Cy Dabney, the safety.
Holding, offense number 55. 10-yard penalty, 2nd down.
That's on Julian Sams, who didn't play last week and returns this week after a 1-game suspension.
And he's there in the middle of that offensive line and ran a little bit of a stunt inside there, sometimes trying to keep a defender from getting around you. You don't want your quarterback to take a hit. Easy to grab. A lot of flags here early for both these teams.
Already 8 in the game's first 5 minutes. Across the formation, Cooper looking for some running room, and he's angled out there. So already 5 minutes gone. It's relative to week 1, a bit more of a promising start for Bowling Green, where they found themselves down 21-0 last week. Here had a chance for the end zone on their first drive. A big penalty set them back. They settled for 3. 3rd and 8. Pocket collapses as Crum takes off. He's pursued. Not enough speed to get him, though, before he picks up the first down.
Looked like the pressure came from Isaiah Johnston. Mac, right side of your screen. See the inside move there? Back's going to step up, even try to help. Still can't slow down that rush, but what does Dustin Crum do? I told you he was sneaky athletic, Mike.
And he has impressed ever since he took over last year in week 2 for the former Auburn quarterback Woody Barrett, who they will use in select packages. We haven't seen him yet.
Ball start. Offense number 14. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Receiver Dante Cephas.
Always wondered how receivers jump off sides. It kind of never made sense. You don't hear the snap count. There's no cadence for you. You just watch the football. You go when the football goes.
It was just it's like trying to look for a balk in baseball.
Trying to time it up a little bit, get an extra jump.
Backs him up 5. And is there anything that you've seen here, Cole, as they've run off to that left side quite a few times already?
Well, I told you about the interior of the defensive line over that direction, that it was a problem last week. But what you're seeing is good penetration from Brian Van Gorder's defense. And he talked to us about that when we spoke to him 2 days ago. Said we have to get north and south. We have to get upfield. We need to be a defense that penetrates more. And that's not just the D-line. He actually was telling us that he wants his safeties, his corners, his rovers to be up penetrating as well.
Well, those members of the secondary play back here, and that leaves some space across the middle for the drop down underneath to find Isaac Vance for the 2nd time.
Yeah, one of the more surprising things that Brian Van Gorder told us, I'll give it to you after this play.
Crum bobbles it, then quickly gets rid of it, and that's not enough for a first down. That was an ugly looking play as he quickly flicked it out to Jayshawn Polk, but they're short.
Boy, an interesting play call there. Felt like you could have just taken the snap, especially when you go underneath. A lot of times shotgun teams won't run quarterback sneaks because you don't practice going under center. They're obviously comfortable being able to do that. Crum goes under center, snap it, go ahead, get 6-8 inches, but instead you throw the incompletion. Now you go for it on 4th down.
They bring in the tight end, Chris Leach, off to the left side of the formation. Hand it off on 4th down, and a brown and orange wall is there to meet him. Both sides are celebrating on that play. It's a first down, Kent State. Some discombobulation on the defense, and we got a fake injury on the field. Roland Walder just fell down.
Snaps, charge timeout, Bowling Green. Their first of the half.
It was either going to be him coming off for a play or it was going to be a timeout.
Full media timeout.
So Scott Loeffler got some things to figure out. Down 4 with Kent State on the move.
(7-3) Kent State. You see Bowling Green defensive coordinator Brian Van Gorder there. Really interesting visit with him 2 days ago. And one thing that he told us, Mike, that I really had never heard before was he wants his defenders to take their shot in space, referencing linebackers and safeties coming up to make tackles in the open field. And he doesn't want guys breaking down. We don't weeble wobble. We want guys coming up and taking their shot. Now, he said he wants you to be calculated with it. He wants your angle to be right. He wants you to leverage the football. But I've never heard a defensive coach just basically tell their guys, come up, take your shot in space. We always hear break down in front of the ball carrier.
After the run by Crum, he launches toward the end zone. A hanging ball is incomplete. It'll be 3rd and 5. And why do you think that you've never heard coaches say that? Do you think it plays into the youth of this team and he's trying to enable them?
I think we talked a lot with Brian Van Gorder about what's happening with defensive football this year. He said guys just haven't seen things at speed enough. He said that there's been a regression in skills for defensive players because of what they missed in the spring and what they missed in the fall. I think he's trying to instill aggressiveness in his players.
Coaches have said they felt like it was beneficial to learn a lot more, but for players, much more detrimental.
And Van Gorder has been one of the few coaches that I've spoken to this entire season that said, quote, it was not a good learning environment. He didn't like it. Now he said, hey, it was cool to learn the technology. I didn't know some of that, but not a great learning environment for our players.
Crum's got time. He lofts it incomplete through the hands of Isaiah McCoy. Well, just ask any parent what it's like to have kids learning at home and see if they say that's a good learning environment. Same goes for college football coaches sometimes, right?
I can tell you this. I was in my hotel room for 18 hours before this game. I got more prep done for this game than I have my 3 previous games involved because I have 3 kids under 6 at home.
It's a busy house. Flag is down. Crum for the end zone and over the head of McCoy. He is the deep threat. Last year had 8 touchdown catches that led the league.
Defense number 56, 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
Now, numerous penalties, and they've come inside the 30 that have really hurt Bowling Green on offense and defense. The handoff, and Xavier Williams bores a tunnel through the middle to set up 3rd down and 1.
12 personnel, you'll get that a lot. 1 back, 2 tights from Kent State. Both tight ends to the left.
Quick toss for Polk, and he is dropped immediately. Caleb Biggers comes up to make the stop and put the pressure on Kent State.
I'm all for taking the uncoverage, Mike. I love it. When you get a receiver who has soft coverage or basically no coverage, get those quick hitters out in space. But this is what Brian Van Gorder was talking about. Take your shot in space. He coaches this. The defensive coordinator coaches this. Don't come up and break down in what he calls weeble wobble. Come up and take your shot in space. Paid off there.
Trickett from a family of kickers sends this one high and good. Sister plays soccer at Cleveland State. Another sister, a lacrosse player at Akron. So a Northeast Ohio athletic family, and he extends the Kent State lead to 7. Well, after an exciting double overtime victory against Clemson, it's Notre Dame back to it against Boston College, 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. And then later on that night, 7:30 Eastern, 13th ranked Wisconsin and Michigan at the Big House in Ann Arbor. That's both on ABC and the ESPN app.
I'm excited to see Graham Mertz get back on the field. I thought that Wisconsin offense looked great in the one game that we'd seen them, especially with Graham at quarterback. But good to get Wisconsin back into the mix. They're a team that I think could really surprise some folks this fall.
Yeah, they've got a chance to get Michigan to 1-3 for the first time since Brown Eyed Girl was a hit single. That was 1967 for those Michigan fans wondering. Scott Loeffler in year number 2, Sean Lewis in year number 3. And Kent State, with a victory in week 1, got their first opener for a season as a victory since 2013. They haven't started 2-0 in 32 years when they had wins against Youngstown State and Akron to open the season. So a chance for Sean Lewis really to be a difference maker for Kent State. And he already has. Last year got their first bowl win ever. We've already seen Denley with an 81-yard return. All eyes on him as he grabs this one again, and he is smothered out across the 20-yard line. Cole, you've watched a lot more football than I have, talked to a lot more head coaches. I don't know that there's ever been someone as passionate about the mechanics of quarterbacking than Scott Loeffler was about Matt McDonald this week.
I don't think any normal fan or anybody who's just sort of an average observer of football would have any idea how much goes into quarterbacking from a technical perspective. And then I think Scott Loeffler takes it 2-3 steps past that. He is obsessive with the fundamentals, the techniques, and the details of throwing the football.
And McDonald does throw on first down. The high throw is pulled in by Noah Massey, the Houston native, who went to Bowling Green. He's a big guy. Other schools wanted him at tight end. Here they wanted him at receiver.
So getting the feet set was a big part of it. You see the release is a little bit different. Brings the ball very low before he gets it out. It's an elongated release, but when those feet get set, the shoulders get squared up, he can generate a lot of momentum.
After the gain of 22, McDonald on the run, and the pass is incomplete off the hands of the tight end Christian Sims. Tight end is a big part of what they do. Quinton Morris, who will call his name a ton tonight, led MAC tight ends in catches last year.
Now Loeffler wants to involve all of his tight ends. He said he wants to get to a point where he can be a regular 13 personnel football team, 1 back, 3 tight ends.
And off to Trayvon Raymore, the 5'10", 240-pound redshirt freshman thundering back. We mentioned an injury at the running back spot this week for Bowling Green. They are without Andrew Clare, tabbed as their lead back, but he didn't have a carry after the first drive of the third quarter last week. It's a shoulder injury that keeps him out this week.
Boy, and Bryson Denley just kind of gingerly walked off the field as well.
Embry turns the corner, stumbles for a first down, and then some. This is a drive with promise for BG.
Love to see the young man, Jalen Embry, have the wherewithal to just get north and south. A lot of players can have the tendency to keep stretching that thing to the sideline and you run out of green. Watch your tailback here, though. Tailback's usually getting the football. Trayvon Raymore, 21. Love it. Go get physical out there, throw a block.
It's good for 22. There's room up the middle, but a flag down right at the onset of the play as a shoelace tackle stops Raymore at the 18-yard line.
Offside. Defense number 41 lined up in the neutral zone. That penalty is declined. Result, 1st and 10.
Defensive end Jabbar Price called for the penalty, and the drive marches on for BG, the most continuity they've shown in a game plus. McDonald with his tight end Morris off to the right side. They give through the middle where they're finding some early success. White jerseys converge, trying to snatch the ball out of the grasp of Raymore, and the play is blown dead.
You're just going to get so much movement in this offense. And Scott Loeffler told us, we want to create as many eye violations as possible.
That sounds violent, Cole.
For your optometrist, it could be. For a football player, not so much. The violence comes when you're not looking and you get an offensive guard maybe block back on you and give you one in the ear hole. But you'll see motions, you'll see plays blocked one way, a different player coming back the opposite way. Here we go again.
Ophthalmologists, linebackers, and safeties beware on this pitch to the edge. A dive at the goal line, touchdown Bowling Green. Bryson Denley, the ball knocked loose as he breaks the plane to the goal line and has the Falcons within an extra point.
Boy, just tiptoeing down that sideline, full extension. What an effort.
You have to wonder if how close his shoes were to the sideline there. They may review that to see if he stepped out of bounds.
Good. Close.
That looks out. The 5?
It does.
All right. From the 5, first and goal. Denley picks up a couple and loses a helmet. So he's got to come off for at least one snap.
We're going to be blessed to watch some big physical tailbacks in this game. Denley is not one of those, but boy, he runs bigger than 180 pounds.
They get loaded up big with Raymore. The single back for Bowling Green. McDonald on the roll. Can he run it? The quarterback dives to the pylon. Touchdown, Bowling Green. Denied a couple snaps prior. This time McDonald keeps it. And now BG is officially within 1.
And a good decision. No targets there. Don't try to force the football. Get to the corner. Take that ball. Tap it on the pylon. Get 6. I like the play calling so far from Scott Leffler. Utilizing the perimeter.
Official timeout for an injured player. The ruling on the field and the previous play was a touchdown. That play is also under further review.
One of the things that Scott Leffler talked to us about was the mechanics, the footwork, the frame, setting up the frame, having the core of his quarterback in a position where he could throw the best ball as possible. Said he got away from it a lot of the times last week. So move the pocket a little bit. Give him the freedom to do things like this. I believe that ball tapped the pylon before the knee hit the ground. Now, you've been much more definitive tonight than I have, Mike. So if you want to go out there on a limb,
yeah, I have
give us exactly what it is.
You go ahead and do that. A lifetime 100% success rate on replay reviews. So I'm just going to.
You're calling out fake injuries. You're calling out stepping out of bounds. I've been impressed with how definitive and confident you've been tonight.
And keeping it real goes right is an example tonight.
The reverse Dave Chappelle.
Okay, so is the knee down? The ball just has to touch the pylon. And, yeah.
Dink. Got it.
Should be a touchdown.
After review, the ruling on the field of a touchdown is confirmed.
So after one taken away and a replay review, Falcons can breathe a little bit easier with their first touchdown of the season. That came almost 75 minutes gone of game action.
Really nice drive. Utilizing different portions of the offense. The run game looks solid, which is this offense is going to have the rushing attack.
Needham's extra point is good, and things are all tied at 10.
I mentioned that rushing attack and it having to be there for Bowling Green. This is not an offense that's going to be built like some of the traditional MAC offenses that we've seen be built in the past. It's not going to be 4 and 5 wide every down. It's not going to be shot play after shot play. You will add some tempo, and you'll be able to utilize that at times, but Scott Leffler wants to build this thing a little bit different. He wants to go more tight ends. You see what's happening in the Big 12 right now. Chris Kleiman at Kansas State, he's kind of building that thing in a little bit more of a physical mold. Even Matt Campbell at Iowa State, they go 13 personnel a lot with 3 different tight ends. Scott Leffler said he enjoys a contrast in style football game. And if he can build his team different than what he's going to see most weeks in the MAC, he feels like that can be advantageous.
And he's had a lot to build on with the guys he's coached under as well. Would you like to see at any point this week 2 men in their 30s trade punches? Because I have an offer for you. Terrence Crawford, rated pound for pound by ESPN, the top boxing champ. He's going to defend his WBO welterweight belt against Kell Brook. That's Saturday night, the main event in Las Vegas. Coverage starts on ESPN 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. It's also available on ESPN Deportes and ESPN Plus, which you can get by going to ESPNplus.com or with the ESPN app. And there's something to be said for that, for not trying to, what Scott Leffler is doing, beat people at their own game, but go a little bit of a different way. The catch is, it takes a little bit of time to reorganize a roster that you took over from a team that won just 9 games in the previous 3 years.
Well, if you're just going to do it your way, personnel becomes 10 times more important to what you're doing. You can't. A lot of coaches, the best coaches usually can go in and take a roster and utilize what the strength of that roster is, and then be able to find some success. Scott Lifford's done that to an extent, but to actually get it his way, the personnel is going to have to match what he wants to be week in, week out.
Dustin Crum, the senior quarterback, has started 7 of 9 for 93 yards. They praise his decision-making skill, and with good reason. He's usually making the right read. This time it's McCoy with a backpack tackle that brings him down, and that's a first down.
Toward the Explorer there, hopping on.
And away we go, off to learn and explore the world of Maction. Dustin Crum last year, 20 touchdowns and just 2 interceptions. So that's why in week 1, last week against Eastern Michigan, it was surprising that he even threw 1. After a short pickup, full steam ahead from Brian Bradford. Talk about change of pace at running back. 6 feet, 243 pounds.
I told you you were going to be blessed with some jumbo tailbacks tonight, and he is one of them. Brings back the old memories of Pooh Bear Williams at Florida State, or Jaworski Lane at Texas A&M, or T.J. Duckett at Michigan State. I love the big jumbo tailbacks.
And they line them up wide to the right of Crum here on 3rd down. Fingers pointed in both directions. Bill Kudak, the regular right tackle, is starting at left tackle tonight because of an injury for Kent State.
Offside, defense number 50, entering the neutral zone, causing the offense to false start. 5-yard penalty, remains 3rd down.
That's a big flag on 3rd and long. Just got to jump it. Sometimes as an offensive lineman, you're fortunate that you actually have a defender in the neutral zone. When you jump off sides and you get hit with the false start, may have been why that one happened there.
And that winches it down to 3rd and 2. Crum with a fingertip grab, and that's an easy pickup for Bradford, who just steamrolls his way down to the 45-yard line.
Now, I'll go back and tell you that you had a couple of these last week. However, as we mentioned before, things have changed a little bit up front on this offensive line.
Trying to find space along the edge and no room to operate with. Great pursuit from Diata Burns. It was in his first year at Bowling Green after a couple of junior college.
Go back to what we said, Brian Van Gorder coaches. Take your shot in space. No need for Burns to come up, break down, shuffle side to side. Aims, targets the hip, drives through, gets a tackle for a loss. Excellent play.
Not throwing away their shot on the outside. 2nd and 16. And it's going to be about 3rd and 10, the lean forward. How much, Cole, you played center at Auburn, does having a restructured offensive line on this short notice make an impact?
It can be very different because now you might have different guys that don't know the calls, they don't know the signals. You're going to have to communicate a little bit further. You change centers, obviously, then the snap's going to be different, the tempo's a little bit different, the velocity it comes back could be different. Really, it's just wherewithal know-how. It forces you to think a lot more. So if you're a right guard, you go to left guard, all of a sudden you get the play call, you get to check the blocking assignments, you rethink everything. You have to re-register that in your brain.
Kent State a winner in week 1. Bowling Green lost by 35, but on their home turf, the story is different this week. 10-10, week 2 of Maction underway. 3rd and 11, Kent State on the move at the Bowling Green 45. They go double stacks to the outside and spread the field wide, and that move pays off to spread the field and allow a run up the middle for Xavier Williams. 1st down.
Oh, an injury and a recovery. Very quick there.
What are you saying, Cole?
No, I'm not calling it like you did earlier, but I'm just Rodell Ramon went down and then he popped right back up. And I think he realized he didn't need to go down because he had a teammate down.
It appears to be a hamstring stretch.
It's warm. It's 75 degrees.
It
I would expect some guys to cramp up tonight. I'm cramping up.
This is going to be, and I'm going to continue my 100% forecasting ability here, going to be the last day of 70-plus degree weather here in Ohio for quite some time. I broke a sweat mowing the lawn today.
Well, I'm glad I caught it because I've been to Ohio this late in the year when it's not been in the 70s. And this is more enjoyable.
He's Cole Kubelik, former center at Auburn. And you know him from his coverage of SEC games on the weekend. Glad to have him here in Bowling Green, Ohio tonight for game number 2 of the year for both Kent State and Bowling Green. Williams goes in motion. They set up the screen on the inside. Ball is loose. Was it a catch? The answer is no, and there's also a flag down. So there's a lot to review on that pass to Chris Leach. Going for the tight end screen, and one last injury to give an update on is Adam Dulka, who's a blocking tight end / fullback for Kent State, is also out tonight, which raises the opportunities for Chris Leach and Mark Williams, the tight end who caught a touchdown last week.
I thought Chris Leach had a nice game blocking last
Illegal
week.
shift, 2 offensive players in motion. That penalty is declined. 2nd down.
So obviously ruling on the field incomplete. You get a 2nd and 10. I like the play call there. You motion to empty, your tight end's attached, and you just run a quick middle screen. Defended fairly well, but looked like it had an opportunity. If it hit a little bit faster, could be something that they come back to later in this game.
Leach is a big tight end, 6'6", almost 250. Williams cutting, and he's pushed out of bounds as he gets another 1st down, edged out by Darren Anders, the middle linebacker.
I mean, it's really a 3-headed monster, but you think about Thunder Lightning, Williams just so quick, so explosive, and then obviously Bradford, who we saw earlier in the game at 243.
Toss to the edge, and that is gone for the touchdown. Almost too easy. They've run that play several times with a quick toss to the outside, and Jayshawn Polk this time goes the distance. And you got a couple of track guys, Williams and Polk, and when they get it, look out.
Leave the football guy by themselves. Don't leave the track guy by himself. Track guy runs past you, makes you look bad.
The former Georgia State champ in the 400 meters, Jayshawn Polk, makes it 16-10 Kent State. Trickett's PAT makes it an even 7 to finish off the drive. 17-10 Kent State. Track speed. It's a killer.
Vets, thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for everything. And I think something that we always got to remember is that on Veterans Day, you know, everyone gives a token of their thanks. But I think we got to be aware as citizens of this great country that each and every single day we're living a life that's worth protecting, that those young men and women who have served, that we live a life of value that is worth serving for and protecting for our freedoms of this great country. So thank you to all our servicemen and women and our veterans far and wide.
Sean Lewis is America's youngest FBS head coach, but a well-stated message of heartfelt thanks to our active military and veterans for their courage, commitment to our country. He's a guy who calls himself an old soul, and it's a well-stated message of somebody who has a lot of experience. And one of the things that he said throughout the course of this summer was that he did was read a lot of books, a lot of football books. He said, what was one thing that you did that was helpful to your football career? And he said, look, we're all pirates in this. We're all stealing from everybody else. So I absorbed a lot of information from books, but also got to spend a lot of time at home with my family, which normally you don't get to do because you could go in a 14-day stretch, 12 or 13 days not sleeping in your own bed. So that's time that you never get back.
I read a lot of books during the quarantine as well. Pete the Cat,
Clifford?
Big one. Clifford was definitely one. A couple Mickey Mouse.
Curious George.
Rosie Revere was in there. We do have a Curious George book. I can't remember the last time that one came out. So, yeah.
I'm proud of you. Chapter books are next.
We'll see.
Everyone progresses at a different rate. And that's true for teams in a rebuilding mode as well. Bowling Green down 17-10 as Matt McDonald and the offense come back to it. Just a few ticks gone here in the second quarter in their home opener this year. Just 1 of 3 this year. He takes the deep shot and he connects inside the 40-yard line. A beautifully thrown ball to Tyrone Broden.
And it starts with a clean pocket. Something that was not present much last week. And you see the accuracy on the throw. When Matt McDonald's able to set up, he can deliver the kind of ball that Scott Leffler wants.
They pick up 37 yards. Handoff to Raymore, and he is flattened at the 35-yard line.
Right back to the run, split zone again. You see the offensive line zone to the left, that tight end coming back across to the right. That causes the eye violations. All you need is a linebacker to misstep one direction, or even, how about just don't step? If you can freeze a linebacker for 1.5 seconds, that gives your O-line an advantage.
And that's something that when you watch a play happen and you see 22 bodies collide, may not be readily evident, but you only need a small amount of separation to make a huge impact.
Listen, I can tell you, playing against guys like Kendrell Bell, practicing against Takeo Spikes, you give me a half a step or a step advantage on trying to reach a guy or get hat placement on a guy, it's massive when you're talking about an execution of a play actually working or not.
And what if Takeo
those two
Spikes?
Guys, they still pretty much.
I was going to say, what if he had a half step on you?
They pummeled me even when I had 2 steps on them, but still, I tried and made it. At least it made it look a little bit better.
3rd and 5, trying to build on that 37-yard pickup. That's a tough angle for Jalen Embry, the freshman out of Jacksonville who does not get the first down. He originally committed to play at UConn and flipped in December of last year. Speaking of track guys on the other side, he's a high school champion in the pole vault and the long jump.
The penetration on the edge of this Kent State defense has been solid tonight. We've seen a couple of those perimeter runs really sort of have to back out and sort of lose yardage as they head towards the sideline.
Morris, the tight end, came in motion late. Pressure comes. McDonald drops it, and his only recovery is to fall on it. It's a turnover on downs, but salvaging something that could have been far worse if Kent State had scooped it up.
Boy, and this is one I think you're outnumbered here. Boy, that's a heck of a pickup by left tackle Joe Ware. I mean, you still got there, but Joe Ware just dented a linebacker on the left side of your screen there. Fortunate to come up with that fumble. Excellent blitz design. Able to get the pressure. Nice execution.
Brandon Coleman helping to lead the charge. Lorain County's all-time leading rusher in the Cleveland suburbs. Now linebacker for the Golden Flashes. There's a flag down. Looks like a neutral zone violation. So the deep ball is thrown, and that is incomplete. Going for Isaac Vance.
Offside. Defense number 56. 5-yard penalty. First down.
4 offside penalties against Bowling Green.
And the thing about it, Mike, is you're essentially going with the silent count. It's just, this is not John Elway up there barking, or Peyton Manning, barking Omaha or anything. I mean, this is shotgun. You go on moving to the ball.
Apparently harder executed than it seems. 2 going deep behind the defense, and Crum throws too long. Could have had it for McCoy.
No, and you mentioned it. Offensive coordinator Andrew Souter told us we are going to take shots. Shot plays are going to be there. We want at least one every series. We want multiple shot plays per half. They're going to push the ball down the field, and it forces you to keep your safeties out of the box. That's what helps open up the run game. Football's about numbers, man. If I can get numbers either in the box and run it against you or in coverage deep, it makes my life so much easier wherever we're directing the football.
So the arithmetic-based attack of Crum gets stopped at the 49. They'll have 3rd down and 3. The staff told us he makes very few mental errors. He graded out 94% in that game last week against Eastern Michigan. What goes into that grade?
Think about that, though. Think about everything that goes into a quarterback's grade. You have your checks, you set your protections, and then you have your fundamentals of actually handing off the football, your read plays. Think about how hard it is to be graded on a read play. It's what you see.
And he tosses. That should be a 1st down if they get a good spot.
So you have RPOs. You have read plays where you can hand the ball off or you can keep it and run it. Then obviously you have certain routes that you throw into certain coverages that can be right, can be wrong. The fundamentals that go into your position that we've talked about. I mean, there are a lot of things that a quarterback is graded on during the course of a game.
I miss exits on the highway because I'm not paying attention, let alone trying to make all those decisions throughout the course of a game. Crum with a quick throw, and that's an easy pickup. So he hits Vance again.
See, that word that you just used there is very dangerous. Easy, yes. I would go high percentage. It's stealing is what it is. If the defense is going to give it to you, just keep taking it. Again, going back to numbers, it forces a defense to be something that they don't want to be.
It's about at least a 9-yard cushion on the edge for those defensive backs, and look how much room there is to work with. That's into the end zone, untouched for a Kent State touchdown by Isaiah McCoy. But a flag is down at the 25. 2 of them, in fact.
Ineligible receiver downfield. Offense number 64. 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
Well, obviously, penalty's going to bring it back, Mike, but we mentioned run support, safety. You want to come up? You want to play the run? All right, cool. Come on, come up and play it. You got soft coverage out there anyway. I can probably complete it even if you stay back. You're making it too easy. Again, stealing.
Correction, it's 1st down and 15. 1st down.
The decision-making of Dustin Crum has by far been the most impressive portion of his game tonight.
They're backed up 1st and 10 at the 38 after the penalty. Four-man rush, and whistles blow the snap dead.
Charge timeout. Bowling Green, their 2nd of the half. Media timeout.
The drive continues as the Golden Flashes look to add to their lead, up a score. Our next UFC Fight Night is Saturday in Las Vegas, only on ESPN+. Props to Paul Felder. He was going to be announcing this fight. Now he's in it. He takes on Rafael Dos Anjos, who moves down in weight in the lightweight main event. Prelims 4 Eastern, main card 7 Eastern in English and Spanish. ESPN Plus can be yours by going to ESPNplus.com or by downloading the ESPN app. With Cole Kublik, Mike Cousins, 4.5 minutes gone in the 2nd quarter. Kent State on the move, backed up on a penalty. They've got it 1st and 15 on the Bowling Green 38-yard line. Bowling Green just taking a timeout to set their defense. Dustin Crum has been efficient tonight. 11 of 15 through the air. He'll run it every now and then as well. Had a rushing touchdown last week and gets them back to near the original line of scrimmage.
He's got that long frame, and it always seems to fall forward. He always gives you that sort of timber extra yard or two at the end of his runs.
Crum turns, rainbows it toward the sideline. 1 missed tackle, a 2nd slip tackle, up the sideline, an extra extension. Touchdown, Kent State. Wow, Isaiah McCoy proving elusive, goes for 32 yards.
Well, it's easy to talk about Isaiah McCoy's catch radius, frame, length, height, but you usually don't get someone that size that can be this dangerous in the open field. He brings that as well.
3rd team All-MAC pick last year, and he can help put him up 14 with the extra point. Bowling Green hoping to keep it a little bit closer than it was a year ago, when Kent State had a school record 750 yards. There's some defensive breakdowns here too.
Hey, Van Gorder says take your shot. He took it. A little wide of the target, but took his shot. This is your jump ball guy, by the way. This is your deep threat, go up and get the ball, win a 50-50 guy. And he's juking, running through people, diving into the end zone. That is a legit weapon, Isaiah McCoy.
Well, we talked about how he led the MAC in touchdowns last year, had 8 of them. All of them went for 20 yards or more. And that one goes for 32.
Well, you can create an explosive play downfield going up over a guy and on a 5-yard hitch. Yeah, and again, look at the coverage, Mike, what we talked about. You're playing 10 yards off the ball and you against receivers who can do that. That's a dangerous place to live.
And when you think about the deep ball, what comes to mind for me is a long pass, but what we saw there is the versatility in the ways that he can get it across the goal line.
Yeah, when you talk to coaches about creating explosives, they don't care how far the ball travels in the air. They care about how far downfield it's spotted at the end of the play.
Well, the last drive for Bowling Green ended with a turnover on downs, a 4th down fumble from Matt McDonald. Again, just his 2nd career start, the transfer from Boston College. He got recruited by Scott Loeffler, who was the offensive coordinator there. McDonald redshirted in 2017, played very little in 2018, and last year sat out as a transfer.
One of the problems last week for Matt McDonald, tried to do too much. Don't get outside of the framework of your offense here.
Blitz comes off the corner, he doesn't see it coming. He lets it fly before the hit comes, and 2 flags come on the throw. Going for Broden with 2 defenders draping him, perhaps too closely.
Pass interference, defense number 29. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
C.J. Holmes, the safety.
There's really no debate on this one. Had to throw it. I don't think Matt McDonald saw the corner crash coming. He took a pretty big hit, but that may have affected where that ball ends up a little bit. Still, come out, take your shot, get a positive play. Now you see the blitz, will hit late.
A couple of deep throws for Tyrone Broden. We haven't really talked much about Julian Ortega-Jones, their 2nd leading receiver from a year ago, only behind the tight end Quinton Morris. Scott Loeffler, their head coach, said he was the worst blocker in the United States last year. So you can be sure he doesn't mince his words. Incomplete. It'll be 3rd and 5.
I got a couple pieces of evidence I'd like to approach the bench with on that one.
Yep, we will accept those as Articles 1 and 2 for the jury. Counselor? Ortega-Jones, east and west. Now Denley reverses field. Does he have room? Oh, the defense crashes down to set up 4th and 7, and this does not pretend an opportunity to go for it, not in plus territory.
No, that's Caleb Johns, 32. The penetration, you see right there, middle of your screen. Hat placement, key. Have to get across the face of that blitzing linebacker, and it's tough because a lot of time he's got a beat on you.
So Matt Naranjo is on to punt to Isaac Vance, who waits back at the 20. That kick goes sideways and then takes a Kent State bounce toward midfield. That seemed to carve out an exemption in the laws of physics with the way that ball moved.
Thing came straight down.
There is a flag as well on the punt. We wait in this vestibule of uncertainty for the call.
Illegal formation, 5 players in the backfield. Number 30 of the kicking team. That 5-yard penalty will be added on to the end of the kick. First down, timeout.
Welcome back to Veterans Week, presented by USAA. Tonight we find ourselves in Bowling Green, Ohio, Dwight Perry Stadium. Kent State takes over up 24-10. Mike Cousins, Cole Kubling. Crum keeps it and loses 5 yards on the play as he's wrapped up for a loss. Lane Spires with the belt tackle.
There haven't been many minuses for Dustin Crum tonight. That may end up being one. Really good push in the middle of that offensive line. Wondered if he hands that off, could have ended up in a positive play.
Crum this time does give it up. And off to the right side, Marquez Cooper. Cole, we talked a little bit earlier about what Bowling Green could do differently on defense. What would you suggest here on 3rd down and 8?
Obviously, you have 3rd and long. You need to find a way to get pressure with 4. I don't know if they have the bodies to be able to do that now. 3-man rush probably not going to be enough.
Rain started to fall. A warm night, but a windy one. Handoff, Cooper. And he's short by a yard. So 4th down. They've proven aggressive already on 4th down tonight and show no inclination to take the offense off the field. 2 for 2 on 4th down.
Yeah, probably where analytics comes into play for Sean Lewis. That's why you get the 3rd down run, trying to set yourself up for a 4th down that you already know you're going to attempt to convert.
So they get big here. Williams and Leach, a couple of tight ends off to the right side. Crum from a crouch takes the snap, gives it up. And the run to the left side, away from the tight ends, is the 1st down for Cooper.
And you kind of wonder, you got Brian Bradford, 243 pounds on the bench. 4th and short, but then obviously Cooper can just squirt through. He kind of hides behind that offensive line and then just gives you a burst north and south.
Blitz comes late. Crum throws to the end zone and incomplete. Too long for McCoy. He's thrown over his top target a few times in this 1st half.
And a nice job by Marquise Cooper in pass protection there. You don't often see running backs that really want to mix it up with a blitzing linebacker or a defensive lineman that's turned loose. Had to go low, but still, he did his job, kept him off the quarterback. Pass not necessarily accurate enough, but still an excellent job by the freshman.
Yeah, that running back out of Maryland got praise from Sean Lewis last week. Oh, there's a botched snap, and Crum, very aware, falls on top of it. But to go back to Cooper, the running back, got praise for picking up a blitzing linebacker on the game-winning touchdown pass last week.
Not sure if that caught the Donjoy or the rear end, but yeah, you don't get too many of those. I mean, the rain just started. This is the most annoying part of the rain right here. When it first begins to come down, that's when things are most slick.
Here comes pressure. It's to set up the screen on 3rd down. And Cooper steps out of bounds, tiptoeing up the sideline. And he's out inside the 15-yard line. That moves the chains.
How about Julian Sam, 6'5", 355. Right here is going to be coming out. Watch the big man. Seek and destroy. Latch up and just drive your feet. It's like you're on that sled. Just get him out of bounds.
Not a lot of opportunity for Cy Dabney to get out of the way. Up the sideline and short of the goal line, Vance, who spent some of his adolescence in New Mexico, but lived in Northeast Ohio from the ages of 5 to 14. And his dad, Zane, a former Kent State assistant under Doug Martin.
It's an excellent job of forcing a conflict defender with a little bit of a different look. So you're taking that edge defender, that alley defender, and saying, all right, you want to come up and play quarterback run? If you do, I'm just going to turn and spit it out.
Charge timeout. Penn State, their 1st of the half. 30 seconds in length.
So they got a lot of options here, Cole, as they get set for 1st and goal. We've only seen a little bit from Brian Bradford, the 240-pound back. Who would you go to here?
Well, yeah, I like Bradford. We'll take a look at the previous play. And keep in mind, Mike, these short yardage situations, they have not been afraid to throw the football. So there's sort of your conflict defender. Fake the handoff. You want to come up, play, run? Cool. I'll just pop it out here. Receiver's wide open, get half a block. Hybrid block. Got in the way a little bit. Almost getting to the end zone. Most of us would say right here, Mike, you have a 243-pound tailback. Just hand it to Bradford. Just kind of push it in. How many times 3rd and short, 4th and short have we seen the quick throws? tonight from Dustin Crum. I think this coaching staff knows he'll make the right decision, knows he'll get the football out on time, so I don't think you can rule out any type of a screen or quick throw if they get the coverage that they like.
Sean Lewis has been happy to ask Dustin Crum to disperse the ball to Jayshon Polk. They found the tight ends a few times as well. There's Mark Williams. We'll line up off to the right side next to Adam Gregory.
You can go jump ball up here if you want to.
Cooper's the running back. He takes it off to the left side. He extends the ball. Did it break the plane? Yes, it did. Touchdown, Kent State. And there's an injured Kent State offensive lineman at the end of the play. Darren Anders, the linebacker, was trying to play seatbelt there to Cooper, but couldn't pull him back to stop the ball from crossing the goal line.
Couldn't really see exactly how he got tied up there on the replay. He's in the backfield, so not sure if he got twisted up.
And it's Julian Sams, the offensive lineman for Kent State, up on the knee. Spot where they're already short without their starting left tackle, Daniel Johnson, tonight.
Now, Sam's missed last week. He's back in this game. And it looks like he kind of just gets knocked back initially and then goes straight to the ground.
Makes the lead 20 for the Golden Flashes as the rain started heavy, was curtailed briefly, and now has picked up once again. The advantage now 31-10. Bowling Green with a chance to cut into it with 5.5 before the break.
All right, coming up at halftime with Trevin Match and myself, we'll be talking about the COVID situation. 2 more games in the SEC being postponed this weekend. When will they be rescheduled? If they will be rescheduled, we got more MACtion highlights coming up. We'll get you caught up. Plus, Tuesday takeaways. It was a great weekend in college football, and here's a shocker. Trevor likes BYU, guys.
All right, guys, well, 2 other games tonight in the MAC. Akron at Ohio as the Zips look for their first win since October of 2018, and Miami at Buffalo. Miami, winners of the league last year, and that's over on ESPN. Here in Bowling Green, Ohio, it's been a very successful start for Kent State. They've had 5 drives, 4 touchdowns, 1 field goal. Meanwhile, the climb remains uphill for Bowling Green and Matt McDonald with 5.5 to go.
This is a situation we talked about last week, Mike, where you kind of got away from who you were. Had to play a different style of football than what you were comfortable with. 1-10 with a full half left to play. Stay who you are.
Raymore, no gain on first down.
These perimeter defenders for Kent State have really done an excellent job of stretching plays all the way to the sideline, utilizing the whole field to be able to allow your teammates to come help you make plays.
We started tonight at about 70 degrees. The temperature remains not inhospitable. However, the precipitation does present a problem as it comes down at a diagonal, and the wind is blowing pretty hard here that will affect the ball in flight in Bowling Green, Ohio. Play clock is down to 5 for the Falcons. Flag is thrown at the snap. Handoff again goes to Raymore, the freshman from Norwalk, Ohio, and he picks up a couple.
Illegal shift, 2 offensive players in motion, 5-yard penalty. remains second down.
Well, the challenge is, Cole, I think when they want to do a lot to confuse the defense, they can't also simultaneously hurt themselves.
It's true, and one of the reasons that Mac McDonald is Scott Loeffler's guy is I think mentally he can handle all of this, because it is a lot. When you think about the motions, the shifts, the trades, getting guys lined up, having an understanding of where guys are, where they need to be, and why they're going certain places. But penalties like that, they, again, put you in an uncomfortable spot. You're not a team that's known for just generating explosive plays. You're more of a grinded-out style football team.
Well, if anybody's slick now, it's probably more precipitation than perspiration on the field. It sent some fans for cover, as runs have just not proved proficient on this drive for Bowling Green.
This three-man front for Kent State has really, really been solid. And Tom Coughlin switched it when he arrived 2 years ago. He wanted to go 3-4. Felt like that would be more advantageous in this league to the offenses that he was seeing week in, week out. And it's really paid off. This group has been fantastic tonight.
We've seen Dean Clark, the safety, come up to make some plays as well. He replaced the injured Keith Sherrill. That's a big loss for their secondary, who's out for the year with an Achilles injury. Flag on 3rd and 13. As it stands, a first down for now for the Falcons, with Quinton Morris getting involved.
Illegal motion, offense number 8, moving forward at the 5-yard penalty, remains third down.
Boy, that one hurts. That one hurts. And you could tell McDonald had to do something a little bit different just to get this ball off. There's your motion. Just kind of a little skip step towards the line of scrimmage. You see McDonald there, he kind of had to change his grip just to get that ball out. Not sure if he caught the snap poorly. Obviously the rain affecting things a little bit. That's beyond a killer. I mean, that's frustrating, that's maddening, it's unacceptable.
For that to be legal, he'd have to go into the waters of Lake Erie, a little bit further north of Put in Bay, to get into Canadian territory, and he'd be in safe shape there. Instead, 3rd and 18. And that sends McDonald scrambling, looking downfield, but with no options, and he's wrapped up along the sidelines. The pursuit was fervent all the way through. Jabbar Price ends the play.
Yeah, this offensive line struggled with games last year. You'll see the twist coming around. And he's got to switch that off. Right guard doesn't come off. Tim Tanner-Blair has to feel that from his tackle, disengage, flatten out, and try to disrupt the loop man. But it's an excellent job by the penetrator as well. He occupies 2 offensive linemen. That's his job. Free space for the looper.
Cole, the last punt was for 7 yards. This one, you can tell from Naranjo, intentionally kept lower as he's fighting not only a heavy rain, as heavy as it's been tonight, but the wind as well. Just some angry weather. Saturday, some great college football for you on ABC. Notre Dame looks to avoid the hangover as they take on Boston College, and Wisconsin and Michigan go head-to-head, 7:30 Eastern on ABC. Everything available for you on the ESPN app as well. Badgers have got to keep playing, because one more game, if they miss it, they won't be able, for as good as they've been, to be in the Big Ten title game.
Yeah, obviously that would take a lot of other Big Ten teams missing a couple of games for it to even out and them still be able to do that.
A snap that squirts loose, leaves Crum with no options except to slide down. This is pretty much handed off territory, right?
And the last time that this happened with Crum, I believe that the center thought he was underneath, and that's why the ball just sort of hit and then fell down. I think it might be the same thing again here. This ball comes up and hits him right at the top of his rear end, exactly where it needs to be if Crum was under center. I don't know how you miscommunicate that. And usually as a center, you can feel that. All right, so watch where the ball hits. Well, it's tough to see there. But it comes up and hits him right on the top of his tailbone. And, I mean, that's... Get a little bit of a look here.
Clock operator, please set the game clock to 2 minutes and 3 seconds.
That ball's coming up and hitting his rear end. That to me is a sign that he believes Crum is underneath. Now, the real dangerous part of that is that, I mean, that's where you get a guy injured. He's stepping back in pass protection, or he's turning the pull, he steps on the ball. It's the last thing you want.
Roland Walder, the former Kentucky Wildcat, third year at BG, comes off as the injured player there. Where do you feel the quarterback there when he's under center? What do you feel?
Well, depending on the snap count, quarterbacks can come up and give you a little tap, or you'll feel them right there in their rear end when they put their hands up to accept the snap.
So after the ghost snap that hits the deck, they go to the air, and that pays off because Polk is gone. Wind, rain, be darned. A 55-yard touchdown. And the route is on for Kent State here at Bowling Green.
Watch how Dustin Crum has to catch this snap to then even get the throw off and complete it for a touchdown. Oh, and that knee. I didn't even think about the knee. Really close to being down. And he almost just has to shot put that thing. I mean, he's going like Danny Werfel just to get that ball out there because it's so wet and heavy.
I think they're going to take a look at that knee, Cole.
Didn't think about that the first time that I saw it. I knew he had to go down to catch it, and he didn't have to go that low. I wonder if he just knows it's wet and he's going to try to secure it because you don't want it to slip underneath his hands.
Charge timeout.
Oh, wow. That is really close. See, I think he just wants to make sure he doesn't drop it, so he wants to get his hands under the ball, which is good. Pull it out, reset the feet, and then somehow gets an accurate ball off.
Challenging the ruling on the field of a touchdown.
Oh, man.
Okay, so this is going to go upstairs. Ken Miners, the replay official, is going to get on the horn with Jeremy Valentine, the referee, and what they have to change this from a 55-yard touchdown to a loss of yards back to the 39.5 is indisputable video evidence. And that's close.
I don't think you get it from that angle, and I don't think you get it from the angle behind the defense. If there is indisputable video evidence, it's going to have to be the shot that we have from behind the offense, because there you have somebody that's constricting the view of the replay official on defense. It is literally hovering. This has to be the look. And his foot might be in the way of you being able to tell there. I can't definitively say that his knee.
We could Zapruder this all day to try and determine if a blade of field turf came in contact with Crum's knee.
Is it the pad?
Right.
Is it the actual knee?
You know, it's funny because
is it a stretch of fabric off the pant?
Steve Shaw, the Secretary of Rules editor for college football, sends out a video digest every week of all these plays that come up, some common, some uncommon. And I try to ask the most obscure question I can each week to just get a greater understanding of the rules. This is going to be a new one.
After review, the quarterback's knee did not touch the ground. The ruling on the field is confirmed. It is a touchdown. Bowling Green is charged with their timeout, and they no longer have a challenge for the remainder of this game.
Because that's going to be my question next week for Steve Shaw, who's in charge of the college football officials, is what constitutes being down? Is it a blade of grass? Is it the knee pad? Is it the knee itself?
I mean, seeing that, I didn't feel like his knee touched the ground, but obviously I don't think, even if you believe that it did, I don't think the video proved that it did.
No, I think it would have to be along the lines of the Justice Potter Stewart interpretation. I know it when I see it.
Yeah, I didn't read that book over the summer.
It wasn't a chapter book.
And don't forget, just finding a way there to deliver an accurate pass in traffic. That ball is heavy. That ball is wet. And that's one. We saw it, Mike. So he has to go. Think about this. Dustin Crum has to go down low to catch the snap and secure it. He puts it in the belly of his running back. He's got to pull it out. He resets his feet, has to change his grip and delivery to get rid of that football. Now, is it a difficult throw? No, not really. But I think when you put all those things into context that had to happen before that ball's delivered, it's a pretty nice play there from Dustin Crum, excuse me.
That was his Halloween alter ego this year. Well, part of the praise that he got last year was that his completion percentage was over 70%. And today it's at 75. 15 of 20 for 252 yards, 4 touchdowns. They haven't had to punt in the first half. Perhaps Bowling Green can make some noise here. They get the ball to start the second half. And it would be a little bit more palatable if they could put up a number greater than 10 to end the first. This is what you cautioned about with the way they found themselves playing last week. Big hole early on the scoreboard, and you've got to change what you do.
And it's been different mistakes. Last time it was turnovers that led to field position that immediately led to points. It feels like it's been more penalties during this game.
You were saying? Tenth flag of the first half.
Action. Offense number 79. 5-yard penalty.
Donald gives it up, and Raymore stretching forward. That's about all he can do to gain a couple yards.
And that's the part that just has not been able to go.
Our timeout, Kent State. Their second of the half, 30 seconds in length.
For Bowling Green tonight, that rushing attack, it's just, it can't find a home. There has not been a lot of space, and they need that to be able to open up the other things that they want to do.
1 minute, 42 on the clock, please.
We talked to Scott Leffler about his offense and just the principles, where he comes from. You go back to his days at Michigan, where he's roommates with John Runyon. Tried to tell us, he said, I'm an O-line guy. He found out I played offensive line. He said, I'm an O-line guy. I roomed with Runyon when I was at Michigan. I was thinking, Coach, that's cool, but you're still a quarterback.
In any conversation,
you didn't hit anybody in practice. You're not an O-line guy.
No one's more of the O-line guy in any conversation than you.
I don't know. I talked to John Runyon today. I did. And trust me, he's an O-line guy. And he told us that he and some of his teammates early in their career were getting off a plane, and they looked over at Scott Leffler and they said, hey, Rook, what you doing after this? And he said, nothing. Said they took him out, stayed out with him all night, and from then on, he kind of was an O-line guy on that Michigan team.
He played there from 93 to 96, and he's coached under some really great coaches. Lloyd Carr, Urban Meyer, Gene Chizik, Frank Beamer.
Yeah, and you think about some of those influences at Michigan are still with him today. Mike DeBoard, Cam Cameron, Fred Jackson, who's just an absolute legend there with the Michigan Wolverines. And he carries some of that today. But the Urban Meyer one is what got us when we talked to him the other day, saying, I had no idea that you could run so many plays off of one play. And he said, that's what the spread taught me. That's what I learned under Urban Meyer. Take one play and make 4 plays out of it.
In motion, Embry, hand it off, convert, and then the ball squirts loose at the end of the play. He'll peel away the pile like Russian nesting dolls to determine possession. A dangerous spot to turn it over if indeed that's what it is. Kent State's got it with inside a minute to go, and great field position.
Catastrophe play. You at least needed to get to the locker room and talk about your situation, make some adjustments. That's an excellent job of just putting a hat on the ball. Coming from the right side of your screen, right there. Pooh! Dislodge. And now if you're Kent State, you got an opportunity to really try to slam the door here at the end of the first half.
They have not been a chip away at it team tonight. It's been big chunk plays. That is a quick door closing tackle from Darren Anders. Crum set a clean pocket just about all day. This time, however, he doesn't. Roland Walder brings him down. Still a timeout to use for the Golden Flashes, up 28.
Walder's been close. multiple times tonight. Good length out there on the edge.
They play it safe, and it'll set them up for about a 45, 46-yard field goal here.
Kent State, their third and final of the half, 30 seconds remaining.
Give your field goal team time to get things set up. Thought you could have maybe run another play there, and if you're going to use your last timeout, go ahead and get it to 4th down.
They'll have the wind at their back here for Trickett, who's not exactly perfect, but as close as you can get. Last year, tied for the FBS lead, hit 29 field goals.
You've got the wind with you, like you mentioned, Mike. Rain has died down a little bit. Do you have a dry ball over in the kicker ball bag, is what I need to know.
We just saw one get tossed off the field. Precipitation has stopped. 46 yards officially for Matthew Trickett. Crum's got it, puts it down. The kick with leg is no good. They leave 3 seconds on the clock, which will then bring us to the end of the first half. And we'll have a lot coming up for you at the half as well, with Nabil and Trevor in the studio taking a look around the league tonight. Akron and Ohio, Miami and Buffalo. 3 more MAC games on tap for you tomorrow. And as they mentioned, if you haven't been in lockstep with the college football news today, well, you may have to alter your weekend plans if you're an SEC fan. Kent State trying to get to 2-0 in just a 6-game season. They are well on their way here on the road, up 38-10. Highlights from around the country, news and notes coming your way right after this.
You're watching Veterans Week coverage on ESPN, brought to you by USAA.
Welcome back to ESPN College Football Primetime, presented by Ram Trucks. Getting ready for the start of the second half between Kent State and Bowling Green. Disparity on the scoreboard, 38-10. The Golden Flashes with the lead over the Falcons. One big number, Cole Kublik, that stands out: the penalties for Bowling Green, a killer.
10 is too much in a game,
Yeah.
much less a half. And I counted at least 2 explosive plays for Bowling Green that were brought back due to penalties. So you're not just hurting your team, you're also taking away big chunks of yards.
Kent State trying to go to 2-0 for the first time since 1988, when they opened with wins over Youngstown State and Akron in that season. This is one of just 3 MAC games tonight, with 3 more tomorrow, as the MAC opens up a 6-game conference-only schedule. Midweek games the first 3, and weekend games for the latter half of the season. Bowling Green won the toss, they deferred, and so they get the ball here to start the second. Mike Cousins along with Cole Kublik, thanks for being with us. This game was even at the end of 15 minutes. The second 15 minutes were quite different. What changed?
We talked about those mistakes, and not only are you taking away yards, taking away potential points for yourself, you're giving points to your opponent. Now, you give a lot of credit to Kent State because they came out, executed everything exactly the way that they needed to. Haven't made a ton of mistakes on their side of the football. Bowling Green's got to try to find a way to get explosive offensively in this game.
And they start with McDonald back to pass. He goes across the middle, and on a wet and rainy night, the ball is dropped. Tyrone Broden, the intended target.
Well, that was kind of the story of the first half last week, right, Mike? You had one over the middle that was tipped, intercepted. You had another down the seam that would have gone for about 25, 35 yards. It was fumbled upon contact. Help your quarterback out. Make a play.
Well, for all of halftime, the sky was quiet, and now it appears to be angry once again as the rain has restarted and proved to make offense a little challenging late in the first.
Nice little throw over the middle of the field. Just a little dig route. That's one that Tyrone Broden has to have.
And that was an issue last week quite a bit. Not necessarily on long or intermediate throws, but just short passes, sometimes just 5 yards, where McDonald had either overthrown or a ball was dropped. And that was something that held the offense back quite a bit in that 35-point loss against Toledo. A chance to chip away at a 28-point Kent State advantage, and they face 3rd and 12. McDonald steps up. He heaves over the middle, and that pass is bobbled and incomplete. A good opportunity for Ortega-Jones, and there's a flag down. Beg your pardon, no flag.
Just couldn't get enough air into that deep shot. Had the route.
Well, if there's anything fortuitous about where Bowling Green is right now, it's one, that the punt goes out of bounds at the 3-yard line, and two, that Matt Naranjo, who had to punt into the wind several times in the first half, gets the wind at his back here.
How about the spin on that ball? Naranjo with the little, brought it right back.
Your use of onomatopoeia tonight has been A+, Cole.
You're welcome.
America thanks you.
I don't know what that word means, but I'm going to accept that it's a positive.
Crum in the first half.
Just solid. Made great decisions. Obviously, Isaiah McCoy, large part in making that play, but they just stole yards for the majority of the first half. Uncovered. Okay, we'll dump it out to you. Play fake. And then here again, let's go to McCoy. Let's let him make a guy miss, outrun another one, run through another one, get into the end zone. They lived in a high percentage world in that first half. And it paid off because they have playmakers. We just mentioned with Bowling Green, help your quarterback out. Go make a play. Go make a catch. That was not an issue for Kent State in the first half.
And at times with Williams, who's in the backfield here, and with Jay-Sean Polk, it was just their speed that was enough to beat the defense. Keeper for Crum to get the ball out of the end zone to the 1/2-yard line. That was very dangerous.
Very dangerous, maybe very generous on that spot. Very close. Let's give a look here where that ball is. Just over, yeah. Got it over the goal line. Man.
Before he's brought down to get the ball over the entire goal line. He's got it. Throws across the middle, tipped and incomplete. And there's a very late flag from the far side of the field. One in the middle as well.
Well, that was McCoy, who we just credited for making all those plays in the first half.
Ineligible receiver downfield. Offense number 69. A penalty is declined. 4th down.
It's got to make you mad when this gets called because it happens on every RPO. Every single RPO, you got a guy downfield. It's just it's not the MAC, it's not Big 12, it's not SEC. It's everybody who's running an RPO. Right there. Right there. Yeah, he's downfield, but I mean, it's just, I'm not saying it's not a penalty. It just happens all the time. It's kind of become a part of football.
So Ian Henze, the punter, has his heels on the ledge of disaster in the back of the end zone. Takes a wet football and gets away. As good a kick as you could ask for given the circumstances. Jake Rogers, though, is immediately mauled the 46-yard line. The coverage right on top of him, and a flag rests idle at the 32.
After the play was over, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 15 of the return team, 15-yard penalty, timeout.
Jay-Sean Polk, whether it's on offense or on special teams, he is everywhere. Penalties beleaguering Bowling Green.
It's in memoriam of them. And it means a lot to me, and I'm sure it means a lot to other veterans. Because it is, there's a saying that veterans is anybody that's signed a blank check up to and including one's life. And those men and women paid the ultimate sacrifice.
And it's always a pleasure for us here at ESPN this time of year to salute all of our nation's veterans as we hear from some of the courageous soldiers, and including some here in the MAC. We welcome you back to Bowling Green, Ohio with Cole Kubelik, former Auburn offensive lineman. I'm Mike Cousins. Glad you're with us as the Falcons started off running neck and neck with Kent State tonight and have fallen behind by 4 scores. Looking to get things rolling here, and the weather is not doing them any favors as the rain has picked up once again.
Got some momentum, though. You're going to move the chains here. Split zone. Trayvon Raymore gets a little full steam ahead there. Move in the pile, pick up first down yardage.
McDonald, the former Boston College Eagle turned Bowling Green Falcon in his second career start, hands off a gain of 3. His head coach Scott Loeffler, an offensive guy at heart, said this week kind of represented a path for him. You can go one way and your season can really take a positive turn with 5 games left counting today, or it can go the opposite route. And what do you feel like, Cole, that's been today based off of Loeffler's expectation?
Well, I told you last week there was a lot of negativity about their performance. And when I put film on and I watched it, I said, man, there were some things that were really close on. There were some things that were there. Now, they missed them, but it wasn't just because of a total lack of execution. It's 1-2 guys, so finding continuity, finding positives. I think it's very dangerous to sort of say our season hinges on this game, that you won't be able to find more positives if you don't win this football game. So even with this game, if it doesn't end up going your way, you have to find ways to build. Continue to sort of provide building blocks for your team and your players and your program to try and get better throughout the course of a season. Because it doesn't matter when you begin to turn it around. If it's this week or the last week of the regular season, the goal is to build a better program. So if you begin that build at some point this season, then you can carry that momentum into next year.
And as Scott Loeffler laid it out from the way other people have said it to him, you know, the first year of taking over a program is going to be really challenging. The second year, which he's in now, you start to take some steps. The third year, maybe, he said, you see the light. And years 4 and 5 is where the successes really come. And this ball just looks uncatchable right now with how slick everything's playing out there.
Well, guys practice in the rain. Guys practice with wet ball. You have wet ball drills. It's not new. This ball just sails a little bit. That's a catch that should be made. You'll be a big play wide receiver, you catch that football. But you go back to the mechanics that we talked about with Matt McDonald, something that Scott Loeffler obsesses about. He's passionate about it. It would be very difficult to play quarterback for Scott Loeffler because he is so detail-oriented. That may have been a situation there, too, where McDonald sort of got away from those mechanics and didn't allow for an accurate throw.
4th down punt for Vance. And he lets it go. And it takes a journey through the end zone. Kent State up 28 after the Bowling Green punt. Last time Notre Dame beat the #1 team in the country before last week, 93 against Florida State. They lost against Boston College. They'll look to avoid that fate against BC this week on ABC. And 7:30 Eastern, Wisconsin at Michigan. Michigan 1-2 to start things off. Wisconsin favored in that one. And Cole, we've got a couple games that are postponed in the SEC. This was not a good news day for games scheduled to be played today.
Not really a good news week for the Southeastern Conference. Auburn, Mississippi State's going to be postponed. Obviously, Alabama, LSU, which is a big one every year. Texas A&M's got a ton of momentum right now, really outside looking at a playoff spot. Their game against Tennessee is going to be postponed.
And in that top 10 as well, 2 teams that present a good deal of intrigue as far as college football playoff and New Year's 6 consideration. Cincinnati in the American Conference and BYU.
I think Cincinnati's a fun team to watch. That defensive line really gets after. Luke Fickell's done a great job. And I mean, how do you not like what BYU's doing this year? Legitimate Heisman candidate quarterback, physical offensive line. Jeff Grimes done an amazing job with that O-line in that offense. They're fun to watch.
Kent State has been just that as well tonight. That pass thrown a little bit behind Mark Williams, who caught the go-ahead touchdown in last week's win over Eastern Michigan. You had 3 games in the MAC tonight. Ohio and Akron, a 1-score game late, and at the half, Miami and Buffalo within a touchdown. That game's on ESPN. Kent State trying to make it 3 straight in this rivalry. Long throw is too long from Crum. A win tonight for the Golden Flashes gives them their longest, or matches their longest winning streak in this series, 3 straight, which they also did back from 2010 to 2012. Rodgers back at the 40 with a punt that's going to go into the wind. From Hensey, taken over this year from Derek Adams, a grad transfer who left for Northwestern. He gets the practice kick in. Procedural call sets back Kent State 5 yards, much to the dismay of Sean Lewis. A lot of chatter along the line pre-snap. High snap into the wind, takes a Kent State roll. But it'll be just about a 53-yard march for Matt McDonald and Bowling Green heading to the end zone. It's been a long wait for Matt McDonald to get to this point as a starter, but football runs in the family. His dad, Paul, played quarterback for the Browns from 1980 to 1985, and tell you what, success or not, if you play quarterback for that franchise, you don't buy a drink for the rest of your life in Northeast Ohio. And there they are when Matt started out his career at Boston College with his dad watching on. Matt turned 22 during training camp. He's a redshirt junior this year, and it's a long road to get to his first start last week, considering what he went through in high school, because he had an injury his junior year of high school at Mater Dei in California. That allowed a guy named JT Daniels to take over. Matt then transferred to be able to play his senior year as a starter and just played sparingly in 2018 at Boston College. So now, for the first time in a long time, is the guy.
Yeah, had that immediate eligibility denied, and it's been a long road. It's good to see him getting his time, getting his turn. He's waited, and now has a chance to come out, execute, and be the man in this offense this season.
For a Bowling Green squad that was picked second to last in the media and coaches poll in the MAC East, ahead of only Akron. And it's a different offense, too, from what Scott Loeffler and company executed last year, with Darius Wade, the starter in the first 5 games, and then Grant Loy, who started the final 7. Taking a couple deep shots here. That's over Broden's head. Loy, now the grad transfer and a backup quarterback at Auburn. So they open things up a little bit, doesn't go their way, and just trading punts here in the third. Third down has been suboptimal for Bowling Green tonight. They've netted -1 yard on third down plays. There's still a 38-10 lead for Kent State. In the MAC, a 6-game schedule this year. The coaches picked Miami and Toledo as the winners in the East and West, respectively. Toledo goes to Western Michigan tomorrow. Eli Peters, 4 touchdowns in their opener. Miami and Buffalo squared off head-to-head right now, getting ready for the third quarter. And Akron and Ohio, a 7 o'clock kickoff tonight in Athens, and that's got the Bobcats on their way to a victory after losing their opener last week by 3 against Central Michigan. You'll also have Eastern Michigan at Ball State tomorrow night. And an 8 o'clock kickoff on ESPNU, Central Michigan at Northern Illinois. Crum goes airborne, and he's about a half-yard shy, it appears. Set up 3rd and short.
Really nice read there, though. Blaine Spires came crashing down from his defensive end spot. Pull it, run around in.
And then the luxury to be able to hand it off to a back who requires multiple tacklers, Brian Bradford, redshirt freshman from St. Louis. Now, that's not typically a hotbed recruiting area for schools in the Mid-American Conference. At a Christian Brothers College high school there in St. Louis, and it helps to have a tie. It's all about relationships in recruiting, right? And so Bill O'Boyle, the offensive line coach who recruits that area, has some connections there, and that helped Bradford go from St. Louis to Kent, Ohio.
You know, Bill O'Boyle plays an important role on this team, Mike. You think about having the youngest coach in FBS, and who do you point to? Who do you lean on? And Sean Lewis told us Dino Babers is kind of that guy, someone that he really talks to, has conversations with. Played for Brett Bielema. Brett Bielema raved about Sean Lewis, but Bill O'Boyle was the head coach at Chadron State, 57-21. He went 3 straight unbeaten Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference titles.
You think it's hard for Scott Frost to recruit Big Ten players to Nebraska? Try Division II in Nebraska and winning like that.
He won 28 straight RMAC games. He coached Danny Woodhead. Big reason he won some of those games. And I will give you $20 right now if you can name one other school in the RMAC not named Chadron State.
Wow, I would love to be $20 richer so I could buy some fast food on the way home tonight, and I got nothing.
You don't have Colorado Mesa? South Dakota Mines.
That was my second choice. What about Colorado Mines?
Western. That's it, just Western.
I have work to do on the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference.
Get your RMAC game up.
Just when I was feeling good about myself. Thanks a lot, 2020. With Cole Kublik, Mike Cousins here in Bowling Green, Ohio. Kent State in control as they have been ever since the end of the first quarter. Some miscommunication there for Crum, and rare miscommunication. He's 18 of 26.
Now, one of the few times that we've seen him sort of out of sync with his wide receivers in this game.
That is a man's run from Bradford.
How much do you like watching this guy run the ball? He's like a guard running the football. I mean, I made the Jaworski Lane comp earlier. Pooh Bear Williams, TJ Duckett. You think about some of those big burly tailbacks we used to see in college football all the time. Jerome Bettis when he was at Notre Dame. I used to love watching the bus run with that belly hanging out. It gives the Husky kid the chance in his brain that he might be able to run the football one day. That's what those guys did for me. Ironhead Hayward.
So you're saying you weren't happy when Mom brought home the Husky-sized clothes, but there's hope?
Oh, she didn't bring them home. We had to shop in the Husky section of Sears, I think.
I had hand-me-downs, and I didn't even have brothers.
Bowling Green, or first of the half. Full length timeout.
Yeah, not really surprised here. Kent State really on the move. That run game's getting going. I'm sure Brian Van Gorder wants to try and settle things down a little bit here, especially with his defensive front, try to come up with a different plan to slow this rushing attack down here early in the second half.
This season, for every field goal and extra point made by participating universities, Allstate will make a contribution to the university's General Scholarship Fund. Thank you, Allstate.
You go back to Sean Lewis, head coach here at Kent State, and what he wants to try to accomplish. 12 and 13 personnel are things that he wants to be a regular part of what they do. And pounding the football, running the football is going to be something that is going to have to happen. But it's that It's that decision maker at quarterback. The understanding of the offense, knowing where to go, when to go, how to get there. Doesn't have to be a guy with a big arm. Doesn't have to be super athletic. Think about the weapons you got around you. I mean, we've seen Cooper in the backfield, Williams in the backfield, Bradford in the backfield. We've seen McCoy down the field on short plays. We've seen Jay Sean Polk, Dante Cephas. He's got weapons all over the place.
Crum fakes it, rolls, and scampers inside the 10. And I thought that as Scott Loeffler described Dustin Crum's ability this week, he said, you know, he's great at managing the game. I think that sells him short.
I've never thought managing the game was disrespectful. A lot of people do. That was a disrespectful hit that Dustin Crum just took.
Draws a flag.
I've always viewed that as a compliment.
Yeah, I think it's become a pejorative. Very much a negative.
Penalize half the distance. Down.
You know, no fan of a team that wins a bunch of games who has a quarterback that most people would deem a game manager, after those games is sitting at home saying, you know, God, yeah, we won, but if our quarterback could do more than manage the game for us. No, you win games.
Are you imitating a sports talk show caller?
Not one of mine.
They hand it off, and that's almost unscathed into the end zone for Bradford. I beg your pardon, Cooper.
The freshman getting back in, getting an opportunity. Just looks like inside zone to the left side, and pretty big block by the right side of that offensive line, just taking a couple defenders into the end zone.
They nail the extra point, and now lead 45-10. Well, a year ago it was a 62-20 demolition of Bowling Green at Dick Stadium, 750 yards, and they're on pace to match that.
I just watch, you're going to have a couple going into the orange here. 71. There comes 54. Bill Kudik. Nathan Monin. You get down there in short yardage situation, Mike, and you get your defenders into the end zone. Let's give you a look at it. Push them into the paint. You're going to have a good opportunity to score. You do that. You're an offensive lineman.
On an already depleted line without their top pass rusher, Carl Brooks, out with a foot injury. So Cooper, Williams, Bradford, a hydra of running backs for Kent State have been massively beneficial in their so far successful effort to topple Bowling Green.
Find an 18 here, Xavier Williams. I think he's down at the bottom of the screen. This guy is incredible on kickoff coverage. Watch how fast he gets down.
The full-on sprint and a fair catch before the Falcons take over on offense. Let's go to the studio for an update with Nabil.
All right, thank you very much. Let's get you caught up on Miami, Ohio, and Buffalo. Jared Patterson from 1 yard out, second touchdown of the game, 21-7 for the Bulls in that one, and it's a final here. Ohio being Akron 24-10. The Zips now have lost 19 straight games. A painful run for them, guys.
So head coach Tom Arth in year number 2 in search of victory number 1, as the last win for the Zips came back on October 27th of 2018, near the end of the Terry Bowden era. So that puts Ohio at 2-0 and Buffalo en route to a 2-0 start to their season. It's already, can you believe that? You know, with just the separate start times that teams have had this year. I think of a team I saw earlier this year. We talked about Jake Spavital at Texas State. They're closing in on playing 10 games. UTSA is in a similar boat. Meanwhile, we're here in week 2 for the MAC and the Pac-12.
It's a little odd, but hey, you're getting some in. You're going to get a season in, and I think it's good to get it in now as opposed to say, okay, let's just wait for the spring and everything will be okay and we'll just be able to play it. You don't know if you're going to be able to play it. And then I think what that does to the body clock of the players who are attempting to compete in full contact football in the spring and then not get spring developmental period and then have to come back and play another fall, that's just that doesn't work physically. Honestly, it just doesn't work.
Trayvon Raymore, the running back, the injured player for Bowling Green. And when you think about weird time-shifted things, too, we're less than 2 weeks away from the start of the college basketball season, and we haven't had the NBA draft yet either.
Yeah, it's strange. Yeah, you think, and listen, I'm not saying that it just cannot be done, that Ivy League's going to play in the spring, SWAC's going to play in the spring. You can do it, but I think what you have to take into serious consideration is what is that goal? What are the after effects going to be? You're going to push your next season back? When you start next fall? You already missed one developmental spring, so now you're guaranteeing you're going to miss another one. What's practice going to look like? How's it going to impact recruiting? I mean, there's a lot more that goes into it than saying, oh, yes, we're physically capable of playing a season in the spring. You can do that. And I said all along, if that's worst case scenario, if that's the last resort, they'll all do it just to get it in. But be ready to impact the next year, maybe even 2 years, if you're going to play a season in the spring.
And it's not geographically advantageous for certain areas of the country. Case in point, the MAC, where you're spread out from northern Illinois to going up to Mount Pleasant, Michigan, to all the way over to Northeast Ohio and Buffalo. I mean, Buffalo is going to be the snow capital of the United States.
That's not going to be fun?
It is. We are having a bit of a blessing here tonight with temperatures in the 60s and the 70s, which are quite abnormal. November 10th is usually the average first snowfall the last few years. McDonald sprints, flips it, and his pass is complete to Quinton Morris, who you can be sure they'd love to have him be more involved.
Official timeout for an injured defender.
One thing that we don't think about often is when a score gets to this point, 45-10, how a guy like Tom Kaufman's eyes have to just be wide open, the defensive coordinator for Kent State, because all of a sudden, you can play very high-risk football. You can attack, you can blitz, you can pressure, you can run stunts games. You give up a big play, no harm, no foul. So you're really able to just cut it loose. You can go see some things, and maybe you want to see how a guy rushes off the edge, how a certain pressure package looks. You want to put some things on film for different teams to prepare for. It's a lot of fun for a defensive coordinator to coach in a game like this with the score being what it is.
And that makes life really difficult. Sean Lewis said this week that there really wasn't much to judge off of one game for Bowling Green because there's just so many variables. But they brought the pressure, and the pressure penetrated to send them back. Now, I want to go into what you were talking about earlier with Tom Kaufman and taking this offseason to revamp their scheme and how he looked at what Rocky Long has done, the longtime head coach at San Diego State, now the defensive coordinator at New Mexico, and one of his proteges, Zach Arnett, who was the defensive coordinator there and now is at Mississippi State and going to a 3-3-5.
Well, it's kind of becoming the new craze, really, in college football. If you saw what Matt Rule did at Baylor last year, they ran it very effectively. Now, they had the Lynch brothers playing defensive line, and when you got a couple war daddies playing D-line for you, it's a lot easier to be able to do it. You look at what's happening at Iowa State, and that staff, they've been able to pull it off. They've been able to do it. Even in the SEC, tinkering with it a little bit this year is Barry Odom, because he's kind of playing a real bend-but-don't-break style. It gives you some advantages. And first off, you got to have a couple of really good defensive tackles and defensive linemen to be able to do it. But if you're going to face some of these offenses that are moving around a whole lot, you're trying to keep things in front of you, and you don't have time to really exchange what your assignment's going to be on certain plays, well, it's a way to sort of stay off and keep things in front and force teams to work their way down the field. I think, Mike, in college football this year, if there's one lesson that I've learned watching college football this season, it's that the patience roles have sort of reversed. And we're seeing some defensive coordinators sit back and say, okay, we'll just make you work your way down the field. And you're seeing some offensive coordinators, now it's paying off for some of them, that they can't help themselves. They got to go throw the ball 40 times a game. And games that are tight, games that are close, all of a sudden putting the ball in the air, and it's egregious at times, but there's been a little bit of a shift some places on defense saying, hey, we're just going to sit back and make you work. And that 3-3-5 is one that allows you to do that.
Are you throwing shade at Mississippi State, Cole?
But that's kind of what they do. I think that is an offense in and of itself that requires patience. And I don't think that there's a true understanding some places of the air raid. People hear air raid and they think, oh, go ball, 9 route, just chuck it down the field. That's not what it is. It's work the underneath until you force a defense to run out of patience. And when they do, when they come up and they want to try to take something away, or they want to try to press and get their hands on a receiver to reroute them, that's when you can hit them down the field. It's not just go ball, go ball, go ball. That's not what the air raid is. And I think you had a quarterback that was a bad fit early. I'm not saying he didn't have the patience, but I'm saying he didn't see it the way he needed to. And now they've made that change, and things last week looked a lot more like they're supposed to look for that Mississippi State offense.
Apropos of change, we see Colin Schlee take over because of the success that Dustin Crum has had tonight. And rare is it that you'll get a backup in with such a lead, still with 3 minutes to go in the third quarter. But it's the redshirt freshman replacing the senior here, the Maryland native, who's coming off his redshirt freshman season last year. He keeps it and tumbles forward. It'll be 3rd and 1 for the 6'3" quarterback who had college basketball offers coming out of high school as well from Mount St. Mary's and Bucknell. So
quality reps for any quarterback.
Yeah, especially with so much time to play in this game.
You're gonna direct the offense. You're gonna make calls. You're gonna make checks. You're gonna see what game speed looks like. And with this essentially being a free year, I wouldn't be surprised for us to see a lot of freshmen get their shot here late in this game.
We've heard that relative to Bowling Green, but especially because there's no eligibility clock this year, you bet.
I mean, this guy is like a dump truck rolling down a hill and his brakes are out.
Brian Bradford, you can't tackle him with one guy, right?
I remember the first time my dad took me to Pittsburgh, and we were going up these big mountains, and he had the big gravel pits on the side of the road. And I was like, what are those things? Why's all that gravel out to the side? And he's like, well, the big rigs come down the mountain, and if their brakes go out, which happens often because they got all this weight on there, they got to pull into the gravel pit and it stops. I'm like, I feel like you need a gravel pit for Brian Bradford. I guess the only way you're going to get him down. There's a play, Mike, last week, and I wish we had it to show it to you, but you're just going to have to trust me on my description. It was a similar play to that. Bradford's a little bit closer to the sideline, and he's got about 10 yards of space between he and the safety who's coming over to attempt to tackle him. And he redirects to the middle of the field at the safety.
That's bold.
And ducks his shoulder to try to take him out. Now, he had about another 10 yards of green going up the sideline, but he intentionally goes back towards the middle of the field to try to force contact with the safety. And I'm just sitting there thinking, that's my guy. Like, that's your running back right there. That's what you want to see.
What do you think the safety's thinking at that point?
Holy hell.
It may be what Colin Schlee is thinking after the blitz came from the backside and brought him down.
Like, you probably think you're in pursuit, you're taking a good angle, and you're huffing and putting, and all of a sudden 245 redirects right at you. That's when you wish you were the gravel pit. Like, you're just not fun.
With the momentum when he's got going downhill, he can't stop at the way station. He's just got to blow right by it and says, forget about it. Find me my gravel pit or give me the end zone. Bradford off to the left side, picks up a couple of good blocks, and he gets brought down by Patrick Day, the redshirt freshman safety.
This is clinic stuff now. Gap scheme runs, Jack Clement, 70. Excellent job for Kent State with the kick-out block. He pulls around. Bradford gets right back up in the hip inside of that block.
Just as the defense crashes down on Bradford, here's Schlee on the run. Inside the 20, a stiff arm, and he's out of bounds inside the 10. How about the offensive versatility from the backup quarterback for Kent State?
Well, and Schlee's got a little more twitch. Watch the read. Stay with it, boom, yank it out, and then get north and south. Very decisive was Colin Schlee there on that read. I like it.
19, doubles his number, goes for 38, and it sets up 1st and goal. He shoulder shakes a defender, loses a couple yards. 2nd down on the way.
Yeah, a lot of time, that same play down near the goal line is a little bit more difficult. It's easier for a defense to attack both the handoff and the quarterback keep because you don't have as much green behind you that you have to protect.
They've got the option to let this clock wind down and take us to the fourth quarter. But they're ready to go for one more snap, perhaps. Schlee on the roll. Throws a one-hopper with a second left in the third.
That's probably just being a little bit amped up there. I mean, he just had the adrenaline going. He's kind of half rolling out. Probably could have taken another step or two to calm himself down a little bit. But you want to give that receiver an opportunity to catch the football, and then if he needs to make a move, either the pylon or north-south, give him a chance to make a decision based on where the defender is.
Bradford spins out of one tackle, but a couple more defenders converge. Fourth down coming up as we get to know some other players other than the starters on this Kent State roster with the Golden Flashes 2-0 in their sights. (45-10) Kent State looking to add to its lead on top of Bowling Green here at Dwight Perry Stadium in Bowling Green, Ohio. Normally can seat 24,000. Today, just friends and family of players, band members, and spirit squads allocated tickets. State of Ohio says cap of 1,500, and that's it, unless you're the Browns or the Bengals. So a chance to make it 48-10, and they do.
POW, MIA, you are not forgotten.
This seat is reserved for the more than 83,000 men and women
serving our country who have not come home. They are either missing in action or prisoners of war.
Through all the triumphs and defeats upon this field, this chair will remain unoccupied.
In honor and in memory of their bravery, commitment, and sacrifice, waiting for their return.
A somber but powerful memorial provided here at Dwight Perry Stadium by the Bowling Green Athletics Administration, and a great reminder for us all of the sacrifice and the blank check, as we heard earlier from one of the BGSU alums who served overseas for 2 tours, that military members right when they do make that decision to go to war on behalf of our country.
Very, very cool.
Just a few seconds into the fourth quarter, Bowling Green has it. And trying to find the positives here down the stretch. Cole, one of the things that you told me a few times over the past couple days was that there were positives, small battles won by Bowling Green that may not be apparent to the naked eye, but you get the microscope out and you can see some things that get picked up along the way.
Absolutely, and I think you have to continue to try to build on that, and you'll try to do it during this series. One thing that we were told about that Bowling Green offensive line, that there's a young group that they're excited about. They want to try to get them some reps. Brought 6 freshmen in. They believe that 4 or 5 of those are going to be early contributors here in the next year or two.
It's a first down run for Terrion Stewart, the freshman from Sandusky, Ohio. 2,500-yard rusher each of the last 2 years in high school. Also a wrestler at 195 pounds. They list him at 215. Cutting weight's not uncommon in wrestling, but 20 pounds. He bulked up for this weight.
You get away from a lot of that conditioning and hit the weight room. It's not that difficult for some guys, but wrestling to me is the one thing that I will push my sons to do, because I think it benefits you in so many other sports. Football, basketball, baseball. I think it just benefits body control, body balance, conditioning, grit, fight, heart, determination. I think it's a great sport.
Getting to be up close and personal at the last 3 NCAA wrestling championships, it's been, I think, pound for pound, easily the most well-rounded athletes I've ever seen.
It is the original combat sport. I mean, it's the original sport, technically. And so I just think there's so many lessons to take from it that are applicable to life and to all other sports that you are going to end up playing. I mean, the mental toughness, the physical toughness. There's a lot of strategy that goes into it. I mean, especially if you're talking about linemen. Think about a running back, the body control, the body balance that you have to have. Guys are bouncing off your quads and your hips and knees and ankles. You got to torque your body all different directions. Absolutely benefits that.
And you had not too long ago, actually, although the MAC relative to the Big Ten and the Big 12 is not your powerhouse wrestling conference, but Kyle Cannell a couple years ago from Kent State came out of nowhere to finish third at the NCAA championships just a couple hours away in Cleveland.
I mean, think about what Brian Van Gorder told us about this Bowling Green defense, that they did not win enough in their season opener. They didn't win enough one-on-ones or weren't enough guys who won their individual assignment on every play. Well, what do you got to do when you're wrestling?
That's it. There's no one else to rely on.
I mean, you ain't tagging anybody in. JYD's not coming off the top rope.
Not that kind of wrestling.
No.
First down for BG. Stewart tries to reverse course, and he is gobbled up by the white and gold. Speaking of relying on other people, too, one of the things that Sean Lewis told us that he was able to do earlier this year, as he tested positive for COVID-19 and has subsequently recovered, fortunately for him, the impacts and side effects of that were relatively mild. But they put together a coaching depth chart, which was the first that I'd heard of that this year. Assuredly not the first program that's done it, but an interesting thing that in a normal year you'd really never have to consider.
Oh, you would never think about it. And I think reorganizing your football facility has been priority number one for a lot of these college head coaches. And that is like what you're talking about. If the head coach goes out, if the offensive coordinator goes out, if the O-line coach goes out, who's up next? Who takes control of that responsibility? And having the understanding of where each and every responsibility is going to go.
That play is under further review.
They're going to take a look at that catch.
If something like that happens, you have to have a plan for that. Take a look here over the middle. Ball definitely moving on the way to the ground.
Is there firm control is the question. So you need indisputable video evidence to overturn.
Did have the arm under the football. Obviously not immediate control. But quickly going back to,
oh no.
Oh wow, I would tip back
Absolutely not.
Tip back into him though. Not on the ground right there. You know, it's not just coaching rosters, Mike. It's also player rosters. There's been more cross-training of players this year. Defensive ends working an outside linebacker working a defensive end. It's been a big challenge for a lot of coaches.
I mean, you just had earlier today, Arkansas head coach Sam Pittman tested positive for COVID-19.
Well, and then you think about the benefit there of what he was able to do in the offseason by hiring Barry Odom, who served as a Missouri head coach, who's very capable as a head coach, and I think going to get another shot at being a head coach because he's doing a magnificent job with that Arkansas defense. The luxury to be able to hand it to him, having just done it last year in the same league, he knows exactly what it's about, and he can handle that. You know, there are a lot of coaches that don't like to bring in former coaches to their staff. I've never understood it.
That's a measure of humility, right?
I would always want the guy to be able to walk down the hall and say, how'd you handle this?
After review, it's been determined that the ball hit the ground before possession. It is an incomplete pass. It'll be 3rd down and 12 at the 31-yard line. Clock operator, please set the game clock to 11 minutes, 59 seconds. 11:59, please.
Yeah, that ball moving around a lot.
Would have been a cool catch, though.
Yeah, especially with the DB kind of accidentally tipping it back into him.
But yeah, like you said, it really reflects you as a head coach saying, I don't know everything. I'm never going to know everything, so let me surround myself with the best people that I can. And on the Bowling Green staff, you have Terry Malone, who's been there, done it, seen it all. He's won a Super Bowl ring back in 2006 with the Saints. And Brian Van Gorder, who's been with just about every level, 3 NFL teams. This is his 10th FBS program. He's coached at Division II, in high school, where he started in Florida.
Yeah, and you've got, I mean, there's obviously a heavy Michigan influence with Leffler. Terry Malone was on some of those Michigan staffs back in the day. Linebacker coach Steve Morrison was a captain on some of those Michigan teams. So, you know, Leffler going back to his roots in his Michigan days as well.
So 4th and 10. Penetration sends McDonald on the run. He throws a wobbler. It is caught. The drive stays alive with the completion to Noah Massey.
All right, just having a hard time getting a spiral out there with this ball being wet and heavy. But taking a little bit off right there allows for that ball to be a little bit more accurate. You go try to put that ball with a lot of velocity on the receiver's shoulder pad, probably not going to be an accurate throw.
Stewart angles back in and quickly gets dragged down. Well, you know what it looks like probably at this point? You remember when you were in grade school and you played dodgeball, and there was really the small ones that you could grip really well and throw a fastball, and then the ones that were too big and you just had to lob them with your palm? Is that kind of like what it's like throwing a heavy, wet football?
A little bit. You see how slick it is there. The Nike ball is a little bit more, it's a little bit more pointy as well. It's not as fat, and so you could imagine it might be a little easier to grip, but it looks extremely slick out here tonight.
See if that's catchable. There's a flag. It'll go against Elvis Hines, the corner.
It's one of those things, too, when the NFL draft comes around and you hear the obsession.
Pass interference, defense number 14. That foul occurred in the end zone. The ball be placed to the 2-yard line. Automatic first down.
You know, you hear that obsession with hand size, and we've talked about it with a lot of different quarterbacks, and you know, oh, Johnny Manziel, you know, big hands. Kyler Murray, you know, big hands. Some guys, small hands. And when the ball is wet is when that actually does matter, because you're not holding the football with your entire hand. You're actually holding it more with your fingertips and the tip of your thumb. So the bigger your hand is, obviously, you can cover more surface area of the ball, easier to throw.
Stewart tumbles to the 1. That is a good explanation, because I think if you hear that without context, you wonder why it matters. And it's not necessarily a holistic application, but a very specific moment in time where that does become a crucial factor. Bowling Green was held to just 3 points last week as they lost against Toledo 38-3. Got their first touchdown of the season in the first half, looking for their second, and it belongs to Terrion Stewart, the freshman.
Mike, you mentioned finding positives. Terrion Stewart is absolutely one of those positives. I mean, he has looked exceptional on this drive. Got that low center of gravity. You know, legs just kind of keep churning, not afraid of contact. You may have found someone in the backfield that can really help you moving forward.
In a year where they're going to see a lot of guys play up and down this roster, there's a young gem, the freshman from Sandusky, Ohio.
ESPN College Football is presented by Ram, built to serve.
And a salute to those who have served our country here as we honor the armed forces, members of the military this week on ESPN. And we welcome you back deep into the night here in Bowling Green, Ohio. Game 2 of the season for both Bowling Green and Kent State. The Golden Flashes on their way to 2-0, up 48-17, just yielding the second touchdown of the night to Bowling Green. Short kick and a fair catch where Kent State will take over. Our lineup for this week, and a very special one where College Game Day is going to the Masters. Where in golf, the Pac-12 and the Big 12 are your top conferences. You'll have coverage there Thursday and Friday, 1 Eastern on ESPN. College football Saturday on ABC, a great doubleheader. Wisconsin, Michigan is our night game, and then 10 Eastern on ESPN. Terrence Crawford against Kell Brook in Las Vegas with the WBO welterweight belt on the line across ABC, ESPN, and the ESPN app.
We knew we were going to get some of these all-time sports weekends when things were being announced that they were coming back.
Now it's here.
And now this may be the one.
Now, just like for a quarterback, Colin Schlee coming on for his second drive, it's about time management, Cole. And how do you maximize that time? Because you can only dedicate your attention to so many things at once, but you can maximize the experience across multiple screens. And I think that's the important thing to remember.
Multi-screen is going to be huge. iPad, phone, multiple TVs, laptop. You're going to have everything out. It's going to have to be, I mean, every screen is going to have to be on hand to help you out with this weekend. It's very difficult, in my opinion, Mike, because the Masters is something that requires most all of your attention.
It's got to be focused because there's so many things going on.
And to then give me football on top of that, now you're asking me to choose between pizza and tacos.
That's a win-win.
I can't. I mean, I want them both.
I've never seen you so conflicted.
You got donuts and Oreos. Like, can we put them together and just make one thing?
Yeah, and you somehow have Oreos show up in the mail at your house.
Hey, man, Oreos been good to me.
And then you do an unboxing on social media, and I gain weight watching your stories.
I'm not going to act like I didn't love it. I still will say how they don't take the thin cookie with the most stuff and make a cookie out of that and sell it. I'm giving you money, Oreo. That's all I'm doing. I'm just giving you money. I'd buy them.
You've already had, this is your second life in football after a player as an analyst. Maybe you have a third career in the future as a food design scientist.
Or just consultant, taste tester.
Part-time consultant.
I'll do it for barter. Send me cookies.
Just for the product.
And now, unfortunately, my kids like them, so I got to share the Oreos with the kids. Kit and Judge are always asking for Oreos.
That's got to be an after bedtime snack, right?
I do try to wait until they're
that's
asleep.
Smart. That's good parenting. 101.
There are 2 fouls in the previous play, both against the offense. Personal foul, illegal block below the waist. Offense number 12, that penalty is declined. Holding, offense number 73. Penalty accepted 10 yards from the previous spot. Second down.
And more flags than a golf course tonight as well.
Yeah, that was like a baseball lineup of flags, I felt like. Like you just gave us your order. You just went all the way down through. That was like my order at a taco joint right there.
It requires the unfurling of a scroll to really reach the end of it.
Exactly. I did feel bad. My wife went to like the hipster grocery store where we live and got kind of the off Oreos for the kids.
Not going to fly.
They thought they were really good, and I didn't have the heart to tell them that those aren't the same, and they're really not that good.
It ain't the real stuff. After we saw Woody Barrett briefly, here's Schlee with a dart down the middle. There is no drop-off to this offense, even in the fourth quarter, with the freshman at QB.
I'm going to tell you what, Colin Schlee has come in and shown explosiveness in the ground game. How about this dart? Shoot right at you.
33 yards.
That's a nice toss.
After a pump fake, his pass down the sideline is tipped. Isaiah Johnson-Mack, the senior from Florida, just got a hand on it.
Pretty good decision, though. The coverage rolls up top, so you know you can't go to the fade there. You're trying to pump and go. So when the coverage rolls up top, you got to try to squeeze it in between. Put enough on that's where I don't think anything catastrophic was really going to be able to happen.
Quick toss again. And to the outside. That's enough for Kent State first down.
Colin Schlee gets it out a little bit more quick. Ball comes out with a little more zip, a little more velocity, strong arm. I think if you're Sean Lewis, you have to like what you're seeing with your young quarterback right now.
After a progression through the reads, Schlee takes a block in front and just keeps it.
I don't know if I've ever seen a quarterback go out of bounds and then redirect inbounds to initiate contact with the defender. Schlee is winning people over play by play here in the fourth quarter of this game. He's 2 yards out of bounds, and he goes at a DB.
Taking a lead from Brian Bradford.
The old lineman will love that in film. What a catch.
Running back teammate. Javon
Williams going out and getting one.
Brings us inside 6.5 minutes with Kent State on the verge of starting 2-0 for the first time since 1988. Schlee to the 5 and to the end zone. Wow, that might be the most impressively engineered drive of the day.
I understand things are different. You play a much more comfortable brand of ball when you're up multiple scores. When the game is not really in jeopardy, you're not getting the same things from the defense. You're not getting the same personnel from the defense. However, there has been nothing not to like about Colin Schlee since he has entered this game.
Whether Crum or Schlee, the quarterbacks have engineered the offense to near perfection tonight, putting 55 on the board, rolling. College football this weekend on ABC at 3:30 Eastern. Notre Dame tries to make it 14 straight wins and continue the longest active streak in FBS. And then 7:30 Eastern, ABC and the ESPN app. It's number 13 Wisconsin and Michigan. Badgers favored by 1.5 under Jim Harbaugh. Michigan is 0-10 as the underdog. And that comes your way, ABC, this Saturday. Well, you can't draw too big of a conclusion off of a small sample size, Cole, but Colin Schlee has been mighty impressive here in his debut.
I said it before, I don't think that there's anything that he's done that you don't like. He's more explosive as a runner. He seems to have a stronger arm, more accurate arm. Now, there's a lot that goes on in this offense that you and I don't know about, and that is calling plays, making checks, doing different things. So doesn't necessarily equate to him being the starter right now.
And we'll see Bowling Green with the ball. 6:10 to go in the fourth. Next. Here in Bowling Green, Ohio, the Kent State Golden Flashes are on their way to their third straight victory, which would tie their longest streak in this series against Bowling Green, which has it here 1st and 10 on their own 25. Mike Cousins, Cole Kublik with you here from Dwight Perry Stadium, as it's a big burst run on that first down handoff for about 19 yards to start this drive. We saw Terrion Stewart cap their last one with a rushing touchdown inside the 5.
Speaking of players who have come in late and look good, Stewart has been one for Bowling Green, a guy that I think you can now begin to say he absolutely can help us down the road.
And can certainly earn more carries because Andrew Clare, atop their depth chart, who went out early in the second half last week at Toledo, was scratched today with a shoulder injury, and no word on exactly how long he'll be out. Again, it's only a 6-game season this year for the MAC, so you got to maximize the time you get. As far as maximizing things goes, though, you look back to last year for Kent State, and they had a winning season. They went 7-6. It was a very uphill climb. It took a huge comeback win against Buffalo to help them start their turnaround from 3-6 to get to 6-6 to get bowl eligible, and then get their first program bowl victory in the Frisco Bowl, a high-scoring game against Utah State. And when you consider the history of the program, you go back 40 years. They've had 4 winning seasons in the last 4 decades. You had last year at 7-6, a high point season at 2012 when they went 11-3, a 6-win season in 2001, and a 7-win season in 1987. So 4 winning seasons in 40 years, and an equal number of winless seasons in that same 40-year period.
Yeah, that is a roller coaster of emotions that would make Auburn fans feel pretty good about their situation the last 20 years.
And the defense collapses from both ends.
Yeah, that's not
a Smush McDonald.
Not a situation that any quarterback wants to be in there.
So Utah State finished out their season last year That 51-point performance. Look at the point totals, too. Really remarkable.
I think a lot of it, Mike, is you take on the identity of your head coach, and there's a trickle-down effect. But talk to Brett Bielema about Sean Lewis. He played for Brett at Wisconsin. He played quarterback in high school, came in, played tight end at Wisconsin, and Brett told me, smart as hell. He can blend in any environment, gets along with everyone, and can make everyone believe what he wants to accomplish. Said he loves football. Coolest thing that Brett told me was how much the cancellation bothered him. He said it was absolutely devastating for Sean Lewis when the season was canceled. And he reached out to Brett, and I'm sure he reached out to Dino Babers and just needed to talk to people. But it gives you an idea of how passionate he is about football, about coaching, about his team, about his players. And enjoyed visiting with him the other day. It's my first interaction with him, and you can see why the kids gravitate to him. If you don't get your guys to believe in what you're doing, what you're selling, what you're trying to build, if that buy-in's not there, it's never going to be great, ever.
Especially when you're hired as the young coach who's hoping to give a spark to a program. That motor has to just be on all the time. It can't be a thing you have to try to do. It's just what you're born to do.
And I feel like that's just kind of the guy that he is. A lot of energy, a lot of wherewithal, a lot of know-how, and just continues to find ways to kick down doors.
And a dad of two. That was part of the shutdown. For as much as he was bothered not being able to be around the guys and be around the facility, he said, you know, we had a relatively new child at home, and that was great to spend time there too.
Yeah, he and his wife welcomed the baby girl to the world during the quarantine. I can tell you, birthing a child during the quarantine was a challenge. We had our second son during quarantine, and it was very strange.
Sean Lewis's squad, happy with 2-0 in their sights, has 2:44 to run down. Well, we said goodbye to a television legend this week. Cancer taking Alex Trebek at 80 years old, the second and longest serving host of the Jeopardy program on TV, with some ties to this game as well. Very interesting to find out, as our colleague Greg Melton pointed out to us, some Kent State and Bowling Green ties to Jeopardy. So Kent State alumna Carrie Blazina was on. This is Bowling Green professor Bill Albertini. He was on in 2014. He went on a 3-day run. He won $40,000, PhD in English here at BGSU. And then Carrie Blazina, who graduated in 2014, she was on the show in 2018 at just 26 years old. Now works in the greater Boston area. And so it is with heavy hearts that for Alex Trebek at age 80, born in Canada, but certainly is going to stay in the hearts of Americans across the country for a very long time.
I don't think there's any doubt about it. If you've heard his interview with Howard Stern about my favorite part of his entire story, and it's a remarkable story of how he got the job, how he kept the job, but was his contract negotiations. And that there essentially weren't any. And that every time his contract was up, he just kind of assumed that they were going to bring him back, and they made him an offer, and there was no back and forth, no negotiating. He just kind of took it and kept going.
I think, that's relatively unheard of. Maybe for Howard Stern, also probably has similar contract negotiations. But also what's relatively unheard of.
There's a little more negotiating in his, but yeah, for him to
May
just
we all
basically
endeavor
say,
for a 3-day work week.
For them, and about a 3-month work year as well, because they would jam them all in. He talked about that with Howard also, that how they would jam so many into a very short period of time.
That is a Kent State touchdown.
Kind of like how Kent State's jammed some of these short screens into the end zone.
Really remarkable. They're on the verge of, for the back-to-back years, tack on the extra point, they will have dropped 62 in back-to-back years on Bowling Green.
This has been a strong performance tonight, and normally when your second-team guys begin to come in, things take a dip. You get incompletions, you get false starts, you get all those penalties came early. Now the younger guys are in, and this thing's looking as smooth as it's looked all evening.
That is quite impressive. Kent State's going to go to 2-0, and next week they've got their biggest rivalry game every year against Akron, their closest opponent. biggest foe in the MAC. And Akron is a team that has struggled the most the last several years in this league.
Quick screen out in the flat. When you have those kind of wheels, it really only takes one move.
Another good throw from Schlee as well.
He's been great. And Isaiah Wooden just taking that thing into the end zone. There are so many playmakers on the perimeter in this offense. It allows you to stay high percentage. You don't have to play high risk, and you know it gives you the opportunity to create explosive plays with a very low chance of turning the football over. That's a great place to live. If you're an offense coordinator, I can give you easy throws near the line of scrimmage, and you can turn them into explosive plays. We're going to figure out how to win some games.
Akron next week at Dick Stadium before a trip to Western New York to face Buffalo. Back-to-back road contests against two very difficult opponents in UB and Miami. So, to finish up the note on Jeopardy, I was curious, if there was to be a dream category for you where you feel like you would sweep, that was a non-football category, what would that be?
Tecmo Bowl. I feel like if I hit a daily double in Tecmo Bowl, or especially if it was Final Jeopardy, Tecmo Bowl, everything I had would be on the line. The problem would be I can't envision myself having more than, say, $25 to put on the line, because I'm not going to know many of the other categories to get any right, to actually earn any money to wager. So that would be the issue for me. Tecmo Bowl, I could dominate.
I think I could do breakfast cereals. You give me a good lineup and have me try to nail down each breakfast cereal.
I'm interested, would there also be other categories as in lunch cereals or dinner cereals?
I think my answers would be for the public good to lay out everything about breakfast. But you're right. But I think the specification of breakfast cereal is really about when in the day it's eaten, rather than, because a cereal could be for any time of day, but we're saying you don't want to eat a sugary cereal too late, right?
I've done it plenty of times in my life.
Big time burst from Terrion Stewart. He has not given up on this one, even with 41 seconds left on the clock. He has been their shining star of the fourth quarter.
Terrion Stewart has just been incredible in this game. Inside zone to the left, and he just cuts it back. His team runs duo a lot, which would be inside zone to the left, but you hand it off to the right. That time, the cutback was just there. He didn't have to do a ton of heavy lifting. Executed well up front, but he's been running through blockers. He has been phenomenal tonight.
You've really made me question now, is lunch meats an appropriate categorization for turkey and ham? Like, you could eat those for dinner too.
Yeah, because I think lunch meat is when you go to the deli and you say, I want some sliced turkey, or I want the sliced maple glazed turkey, whatever it is. You have an understanding that you're going to eat that for lunch. You don't take that home thinking, I'm going to make turkey sandwiches for dinner 2 nights this week. But when someone buys cereal, you're not taking that to your house saying, I might have this for lunch on Wednesday, be great for dinner on Thursday. When you throw out dinner options in your home, it's not turkey sandwich or ham sandwich or Fruity Pebbles or Cocoa Puffs or Lucky Charms.
I think
those aren't the real options. Now, when I was a kid, did I eat a whole box of Fruity Pebbles for dinner multiple times? Yes, that happened plenty. But I'm just telling you, those are not real options. Just like a sliced Ziploc bag of turkey is not a real option for dinner.
It's really about the intent and the implication of what's going to happen, I think, when you buy the cereal or make the sandwich with the meat that is prepared for lunch, because it can be eaten at any time, but it's what you intend to do with that food.
It's just complicating things. It's what you're doing. Like you're the offensive coordinator that has too many attachments and too many plays and too many descriptions. You got to dumb it down. Give your play a number. Like, be like Hal Mummy and just be like 4. You're coming out here with breakfast cereal. Nobody, it's just cereal, man. There's no other cereals.
If there's nothing else that I've
Like,
learned
I don't
today,
have dinner pizza. I have pizza.
that's right. Even if it's at 1 a.m., it's still just pizza.
Nobody has early morning pizza. Like
No, you do- you do. That's the only thing in the fridge.
You said you said you're going to get tacos on the way home, right? But you can have breakfast tacos with eggs, sausage, bacon, salsa, whatever.
I could. Like Kevin Garnett. Anything is possible.
So the question you may need to ask is, why do we not reference other tacos as dinner tacos or lunch tacos?
I think in 2020, if there's anything that we need, it's more certainty about what lies ahead for us. And for the restaurateurs of America, we have a lot of suggestions for you. And I hope you've taken note. You thought he was just an Oreo connoisseur, folks, but Cole Kubelik is much more than that. That was an interesting application, too, of the fair catch on the kickoff, where if you call for the fair catch inside the 25, but you do not recover it cleanly, you don't get it at the 25. You get it where you picked up the ball. Well, Cole, 62-24. Kent State 2-0. Bowling Green 0-2. What do you say?
Very impressive performance from Sean Lewis's group. Offense seemed to be on all cylinders for the majority of the game. You even got some backups in, got some valuable time, and they look like they could be something that's going to be beneficial for this team down the road. Terrion Stewart may be a guy that Bowling Green can lean on a little bit later, but they're going to have to try to find some positives to build upon and improve across the course of this season. First thing for Bowling Green, Mike, they need to get healthy, because I think some of the guys that are not involved in this football game are too important to them finding ways to win this season.
Without their top running back, without their top defensive end today, hoping to avoid 0-3. Even after 15 minutes, the rest of the way, the golden flashes were flash fast and in the rearview mirror most of the night. They are 2-0, a date at Dick's Stadium next Tuesday against the Akron Zips, one of the biggest games of the MAC each year, with Kent State trying to get to 3-0. They're 2-0 for the first time in 32 years. For our entire crew, my partner Cole Kubelik, Mike Cousins saying thanks for watching. Good night.